you. Good evening, everybody. This is our regular meeting, May 3rd, 2022. Shantae, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor O'Happen,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Hamilberg,
Here.
Commissioner Samaria.
Yeah.
There you have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Samaria, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Are there any additions or deletions or withdrawals to the agenda?
Yeah, Jenny, I have one quick thing here. I'm sorry, let me pull my agenda up. I would like to pull the April minutes, the commission meeting minutes. I have a couple of comments I want to make about that, please.
Okay, which number is that?
I don't know. In the consent agenda.
Is there any other?
It's in
Yeah.
number 9.
Number 9.
And since the discussion on swales was mine, which is 12A, I would like to 12A, the discussion on swales was at my request. I would like to put it onto the June agenda because I think we have a very full agenda and we're not going to have time to get to it all.
Okay, we'll postpone. Any objections?
No.
None.
Number 9 is going to be.
Discussion.
Are there any other additions? Or deletions? Okay, all in favor of the changes? Say aye.
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 Not confused. It's just that my computer has gone down and we're trying to get it back. So we'll continue. The proclamation for Memorial Day. Whereas on Monday, May 30th, 2022, in cities and towns throughout our nation, Americans joined together to honor the fallen heroes of our armed forces. And in May 1868, Major General John Logan called for a nationwide day of remembrance to pay tribute to those who gave their lives serving our country. And more than 1.6 million veterans of the United States Armed Forces currently reside in Florida, and where many reside in Biscayne Park. And our men and women in uniform have sacrificed their lives to maintain the security of our great nation and the liberties we hold so dear. And members of our armed forces continue to work towards peace and prosperity in the world. And we must pledge to never forget the men and women of the armed forces who gave the ultimate sacrifice in defending our freedoms. We should express our gratitude to the families of our fallen warriors. We must keep faith with all those who have died in our country and in the fight for permanent peace. And we must honor our unwavering community to all members of the armed forces. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Virginia O'Halpin, Mayor of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, joined by the entire commission, do hereby proclaim Monday, May 30th, 2022, as Memorial Day in recognition of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. And we ask here, present at this commission meeting, to pause for a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. Proclamation in honor and recognition of all mothers, Mother's Day 2022. For more than a century, Americans have set aside the second Sunday in May to honor, celebrate, and thank the inspirational mothers in our lives. Today, we recognize mothers everywhere who inspire us to dream big and to never give up. Mothers have always played an integral role in shaping our great nation. Even before our country was founded, mothers inspired sons and daughters to patriotism and devotion to the ideal of freedom for all. Inspirational mothers across America continue to pass on this same lesson, encouraging their children to become leaders in their own families and great citizens in their communities and this nation. Even in our lowest moments, mothers can see the best in their children. Through their guidance and unwavering love, they prepare us for challenges of adulthood and provide us with the confidence we need to reach our full potential. They are some of the best examples of everyday heroes, and their consistent devotion to family and grace under pressure too often goes unlooked. On this Mother's Day, we pay tribute to our mothers, whether we are their children by birth, adoption, or foster care, for their devotion to seeing us lead happy and successful lives. Today and every day, let us ensure that our mothers know and feel our deep gratitude for the gift of life and for their unmatched sacrifices to strengthen our families and our nation. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park do honor all mothers on this 2022 Mother's Day, Sunday, May 8th. Mayor Virginia O'Halpin, Vice Mayor McDonald Kennedy, Commissioner Judy Hammelberg, Commissioner Art Gonzalez, Commissioner Dan Samari. Commissioner Hammelberg.
Okay, this is a proclamation for the 53rd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 1st to May 7th, 2022. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at all other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful in their neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas professional municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate, we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Virginia Halpern, the mayor of the Village of Biscayne Park, joined by the entire commission, do hereby issue a proclamation calling to recognize the week of May 1 to May 7th, 2022 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Shantae Dabney Bingham, to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated this third day of May 2022.
Thank you. Village of Biscayne Park, Florida proclamation commemorating National Police Week, which is my pleasure to read this as a former police officer. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. As established by a joint resolution with Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for safety and protection of others. Peace officers make it possible for us to leave our homes and families in safety each day and to return to our homes, knowing we are protected by men and women willing to sacrifice their lives. if necessary, to guard our loved ones' property and government against all who would violate the law. And there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Village of Biscayne Park. And while safeguarding the life and property of our citizens, Chief Luis Cabrera and the men and women of the department unceasingly provide vital public service. The Congress of the United States of America has designated the week of May 15th through May 21st to be dedicated as National Police Week, and May 15th to be Peace Officers Memorial Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Virginia O'Halpin, Mayor of Biscayne Park, on behalf of the Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th, 2022 to May 21st, 2022 to be Police Week in the Village of Biscayne Park, and to also recognize National Police Officers Day on May 15th, 2022, and call upon our citizens to show our sincere appreciation for the police officers of this city by deed, remark, and attitude. Proclaimed by Virginia O'Halpin and the entire commission and our clerk, Shante Dabney. So wave to the next police car you see. Thank you. If any of these people are here, would you please step forward? Nancy Davis, Gary Kuehl, Karen Maroney, Audra McCollum, Brian McNulty, Joe Moore, David Raymond, Amy Raymond, and Randall Wagner. Would you please step forward?
You may have some on Zoom as well. Yeah, several are, yeah.
Could you say who was on Zoom?
Yeah, so I'm looking on Zoom, Jenny, and I see David and Amy Raymond are with us as well. They're waving at us right now. And let me see who else is here that's on your list. Is that it? I think that's it. Oh, you know what?
Okay.
I see, it might be Barbara Kuehl there. Gary might be with her. I'm not certain about that.
Is that okay? Okay, the Raymonds and the Kuehls might be on. Okay.
Say what? Just to let everyone know, there was a certificate of recognition, I'm sorry. And David and Amy, if you come by, we'll be very happy to give you yours or any other names that I mentioned. Thank you. Okay, we'd like to open up the floor for public comments. Please state your name and address when you speak, and if you do have a mask on, please take it off so I can understand it. We'll call on the local people first, and then we'll go on to the Zoom people.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. My name is Martha Kordiak Mert. The address is 849 Northeast 117th Street. Okay. Good evening. I submitted. an
Talk
app-
right into the microphone so we can hear you.
All right. I submitted an application to be part of the Public Art Advisory Board, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself to the commission. So briefly, my husband and I moved here in 2004. We've loved being part of this village. We love our home, our neighbors, and the neighborhood. Professionally, I worked for many years as a management consultant and spent time in corporate positions in strategy and marketing. And currently, I'm the chief operating officer of a company called Saving for College, which, as you might be able to tell from the name, provides information on how to save for college and 529 plans. So I'm not an artist, but personally, I do have a great interest in art. I consider myself an art lover, also an animal lover. You may see me and my husband walking our dogs, Shakespeare and Mochi, around the neighborhood. Over the years, I've wanted to find opportunities to get more involved. And so when I saw that this board had an opening, I thought it was a great opportunity that blended my personal interests and where my professional skills in marketing and communication and planning could be brought to bear. So I'm looking forward to being able to contribute and be part of the village. I think the Public Art Advisory Board has done some really exciting things over the past years that have enhanced village life, and I'd love to be part of that in the future. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Patrice Gay at 11101 Northeast 11th Place. I am here to speak as well because I have submitted an application for the Biscayne Park Foundation. This was my first choice in terms of being able to serve on the board. I have 2 young children. My husband and I recently moved here maybe about 3 months ago, so we're brand new to Biscayne Park and have really fallen in love with the area. And I think, I'm coming not new specifically to Miami. We originally in the Doral area, but definitely here, there's a sense of community that we really love. My children have been to many of the events that have happened. There's been several just over the past 3 months that have been put on by the foundation as well as the village. And so I'm just really excited and ready to get involved and look forward to working with all of you. And as I have young children, I'll definitely be making friends with you in your capacity as Saving for College. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Strantz at 11173 Northeast 8th Court. I just had 2 topics to bring up, but since the swale and hedges in the swale is pushed back to June, I'll just talk about the great waste dilemma with the waste trucks. Basically, I have them constantly running over my corner lot. Predominantly, it's great waste. Sometimes it's UPS, Amazon, FedEx, few cars, the mailman. But it's predominantly great waste, especially the big one with the claw. But I spoke with Waste Pro back when we had them and to the supervisor, and I asked them to, change the route to left turns, because what they do is they come down from 9th Avenue on 111th, and then they try and take a right turn. And it's not just my yard, it's everybody else's yard that they try to take right turns on narrow streets, and they just run over the corners. So when I talked to Waste Pro, I found the solution: make left turns. Simple as that. So maybe we can, talk to Great Waste to make left turns in the park, change the route so they don't just affect my yard, but everybody else's yard. And here, I'll just pass it around. I want to, fix it. I actually started fixing the rut that they created with on my own money, but I wanted to resod, and I want to know if there's other solutions that I could do, like the reflector stakes to help prevent people at night to drive over it. I'd like to talk with any commissioners later, about it, but that's it. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Sir, I'm sorry, can you repeat your address, please?
11173 Northeast 8th Court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to all. My name is Rodolfo Barrientos, 11801 Northeast Sixth Avenue. Lived in the park for about 40 years. 40 years. I raised my family here, and now that I'm retired, I figured I got enough time to contribute for the well-being of the village. Presently, I'm an alternate on the Code Enforcement Board, and I'd like to be honored to be, promoted to something better than an alternate. I like to contribute to the well-being, like I said, the well-being of the village. Sure, I can do it. I have experience on construction, for about 40 years. I work as for the county as a construction supervisor for quite a few years, and now I'm here trying to do something better for my village. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak? We'll go to our Zoom people. I think the first hand was Janie Anderson. Just to remind everybody, it's a 3-minute. You're allowed. Janie knows that.
Thank you, Janie Anderson, 11th Place and 119th Street. Agenda item 13A has a line in the backup that reads, advisory boards must also follow sunshine laws as we do. However, they have never received proper training. Now, that's not exactly accurate. The last 2 years, yes, of course, COVID has gotten in the way. But prior to that, we not only had ethics and sunshine training, the code board on at least one occasion that I can remember had a special session with the then village attorney who dealt with issues that pertained solely to our board. And that's something I've been pushing for. I hope we will have again. So I just didn't want people to come away with the impression that we've got all these board members out there, some of whom are making critical decisions and nobody's had any training. Now, as important as every bit of this training is, I'm not sure it rises to the level of an ordinance, because an ordinance does carry with it a fiscal impact. As you guys know all too well, it's not only the first reading that's got to be advertised and it costs for the crafting of that ordinance, but if you decide something's got to be changed, you're going to have to redo it again. The other thing I would ask that you consider, because this training tends to only be offered one time a year, what are your backup plans for those who might have vacations or sick or they have work issues? Perhaps reaching out to like Miami Shores and El Portal and see how they deal with this issue would be a help. The traffic and road safety. You guys, there's 3 significant sized developments going in just to our north. It's critical that you get a move on to see what mitigating things are available to us. But like anything else, sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease. So you've got to allow for a significant amount of resident input. The unsightly, unsafe structure on 121st, it is a total embarrassment that this has gone on for about 2 decades. I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for the people to live around that, the effect on quality of life, the effect on property values. So this is one of those things we can't talk about how we can't do it and we can't afford. We can't afford not to do something. It gives those people relief. It overall helps our entire community. Something has to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill, is this a public comment or is this a board report?
I have a public comment and then later I have a board report.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jill Gruken. I live at 12010 Northeast 11th Court. To start off with, I just have an announcement, which is this Saturday from 10 to 3 at the Rec Center. The foundation is putting on a craft activity for kids of all ages. It's a make your own Mother's Day card event. It's free. All the craft supplies will be provided. We are also accepting donations or donated craft supplies to help us out. I know Commissioner Hammelberg offered to bring us some craft supplies. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner Hammelberg. If anyone has any extra stuff, or if you're heading to Michael's soon, we need colorful cardstock paper, patterned scrapbook paper, stickers, glitter pens, regular glue, glue sticks, and glue dots. And those can be dropped off at the Rec Center. And then also on that same day on Saturday, we will also be putting out some information and like vision boards about our rec center revamp idea. So if anybody, maybe you don't want to make your own Mother's Day card, but maybe you want to come check out what our ideas are for the rec center, we will have some visuals there and I can describe all the details to you. A comment on agenda item 13A about the boards getting the required annual ethics training. I did get an in-person ethics training. I liked it. I thought it was really good. Even as an attorney, I learned stuff that I didn't know because I haven't worked like in the public arena before. For me, I think once in person is enough, and then maybe a refresher online every year. I'm open to whatever people think is required, but it is hard to get board members interested. And then if you make things hard, I don't know, it might be hard to schedule. I hope board members don't end up like dropping out. I do think it is important though. And then a comment on 11I on the agenda, the new appointment to the foundation, Ms. Patrice Gay, who just earlier made a comment. I'm super excited that she applied to be a member of the foundation. She has my full support and I look forward to working with her. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Bob Anderson?
Thank you. Bob Anderson, 11th Place, 119th Street. On agenda item 13C, this has to do with that two-story building. That's 826, 121st Street. I know that's been a lot of years, abandoned building that's been covered up. Has our building inspector been inside that building to see actually is it an unsafe structure or not? And, I'd like to find out if he has looked inside the building. Also, I would happen to be looking up where the building is located on the Miami-Dade's property appraisers website. According to their website, it looks like where the lines are of the property lines, that the building and the one in the back is partially on public property. It's beyond the property lines. Now, that could be wrong in the Miami-Dade's property website, or maybe this is something we need to get a survey to make sure where that those two buildings are located, are they actually within their property? So, okay, I've got something else, but I'm going to wait because it's an ordinance, so I'll have my time to talk about the ordinance time there. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, another gentleman here, and then we'll go on to Katie and Alex. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Rocky Cohen, 860 Northeast 121 Street.
Speak right into it if you can. You can hold it. You can pull it out.
I'll try that.
That's much better. Thank you.
I want to thank Bob and Janie Anderson for bringing up the property on 121st Street. I know they don't live on the block. I do. And if it was just an unsightly property, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't ask the commission to take any action. But this is a lot more than that. And I invite you all on any day, just take a drive, 121st Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. I don't have the address and I don't need to give you the address because you'll know the exact property I'm talking about. As Bob said, it's boarded up. According to neighbors who've lived on the block since 1985, the floor and the ceiling has already come down in the house. I don't think anybody's been in there in over a decade. We all heard the rumor that a landscaper died on the property while trying to maintain it because the village finally put some pressure on the homeowner. It's an absolute danger for the kids on the block who do every once in a while go running past that house. As a village, we have municipal powers for life, safety, and well-being of the village and its citizens to absolutely do something about this matter. I implore you, I beg you to do something about it. It's not going to get any better unless this is put as a priority by each one of you. That's all I have to say on this matter, but I do want to touch upon speeding. Last week I went for a walk with my wife. different cars on two different intersections just blew the stop sign. One of them must have been going down 8th Avenue at 50 miles an hour. I kid you not, looked me straight in the eye as he just went right past us and we ducked for cover. Speed bumps would do a lot to prevent it. They don't have to be permanent speed bumps. They can be the temporary ones that you move around. Something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, where did they disappear to? Oh, Katie and Alex. Katie, I think you wanted to speak?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Katie Sanoja, first time at a commission meeting. My address is 1050 Northeast 121st Street, so I'm right on the border. I wanted to talk about two agenda items or just make a comment on 11D, the infrastructure. I think it's 11D. I'm sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me. As you know, we've been facing a lot of flooding issues on our street, and I just want to note that we need to coordinate with North Miami, especially on any projects that are done on 121st Street. We're half of the road. The water doesn't recognize a geographical border. And if we're only fixing our side and our drainage problems and we're not coordinating with the other jurisdiction, it's not going to do much for us. So I wanted to just make a comment on that. And I do appreciate Mario's efforts and the other commissioners on pushing this item forward because it has been an issue. And then I just wanted to mention something on, I think it's 13B, which is the traffic and safety agenda item. I echo the comments of the last person who spoke. I love to walk in our neighborhood, but there are times that I fear for my safety. I have a 2-year-old and people just speed down 121st Street because there's a long, space between stop signs. And I even see people, sadly, from our neighborhood, not just people cutting through, but people that actually live in our neighborhood speeding down our street. And, I try to be always vigilant. I don't walk like looking at my phone. And there was a time where I had a close call where someone was on the phone driving and almost came into me and the stroller with my newborn. So it is, I hope that we're going to act on this before there's a tragedy so that we are proactive rather than reactive on this point. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers on Zoom or here? Okay, we'd like to close public comments and open it up to commission comments. Commissioner Samaria, do you want to start?
I don't have any comments. Thank you. No, I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hammelberg?
Yeah, as far as the house on 121st Street, we all know it's been a problem for a long, long time. But according to the police report, according to the medical examiner's office, according to all the documentation that I've been given about it, nobody died on that property. Somebody was stung by a bee on the neighboring property and eventually died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And I do have a copy of that police report. And I don't know all the details of it, but that's what came. And it because he actually went to North Miami where he was taken by fire rescue from 123rd Street. It's a North Miami report. We don't have the report in our records. It's in the city of North Miami. But to my knowledge, nobody has died on that property, and I've asked about it. But we agree with you. It's an eyesore, and we're not quite sure what to do about it. So we've discussed it before, and we'll discuss it again to see where we can go forward. But we're limited. It's private property. We can't send our building officials to go inspect private property. We have no legal right to be there. Just like we can't go onto your property to inspect your house.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Kennedy?
Yeah, as always, I just want to thank everyone who comes to speak for the agenda items. It's nice to see this level of engagement from the community. So thanks everybody for coming, especially to the board applicants who came to introduce themselves. Martha, Patrice, and who else came? Oh, somebody else. Rodolfo. Sorry, Rodolfo. Feel like you're already on the board. You're already on the board. So thank you guys for coming and making the introduction. That's very nice of you to do that. Regarding the house on 121st Rocky, we're going to have that conversation later on tonight. And Judy Shante has a copy of the North Miami Police Report if you'd like to see it. She got it for me. She can send that to you. I have. Oh, you do have it. I'm sorry. I thought you said you had not seen it. We'll address it tonight, regardless of whether he died on the property or elsewhere. The house is an issue, and we'll talk about it tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
I have no comment.
Okay, are there any reports from our village boards?
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, that's Jill, you're going to do another report, no, village report again? Okay.
Janie can go first, 'cause I think she was trying to get in there and she couldn't find her
Okay,
raise
no.
hand button, which happens to me all the time.
Oh, thanks,
Go
Joe.
ahead, Janie.
Janie Anderson of the Code Board. First of all, I want to thank again Gary and Brian for their many years of service and for the dedication and the attention to detail. They will both be so very missed. Even with the two potential appointments you guys are making tonight, we still come up one regular member short and an alternate short. On a board like ours that can have such an effect, we really do our best work when we have a full board. I ask anybody out there interested. Our meetings are now live streamed and Zoomed. So you get the chance to tune in and see for yourselves, not because somebody told you or because it showed up on social media, but see for yourselves what we do and how we do it. And I really encourage more applicants, but mostly I just want to encourage everyone in this community to look in and hear what goes on, see what goes on, make yourself much, much more aware of a more engaged community is good for all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Jenny. Jill?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'm Jill Grukin, and I'm here now to give the report from the Biscayne Park Foundation, which for anyone who might not know, the Biscayne Park Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 charitable organization, and we attempt to bring the community together by throwing community events and doing community activities together. First, I'm very happy that Ms. Patrice Gay applied to the board, is on the agenda tonight for potential appointment confirmation. I definitely look forward to working with her, assuming that she gets appointed, which I hope she does. I'd like to discuss a little bit a recent activity that the foundation put on for Earth Day. We did an activity at the rec center. We provided small terracotta planter pots in all different colors and also wooden birdhouses and all kinds of art supplies to decorate those things. So kids came, they were painting, gluing, bedazzling, having a blast. And then I gave them some soil to put into their plant pots. And I had a huge variety of seeds, vegetables, flowers. I tried to get lots of native plants, although it's hard to get those in seed form. But I made sure not to use any like invasive type things. And the kids just had a blast planting those seeds. And I got pictures and photos a few days later of all these people whose plants started to sprout, and the kids were so excited about it. I don't have an exact number in front of me, but we actually earned, I think, a few $100s in donations that day. The Girl Scouts were there. They were selling homemade ice creams in Girl Scout cookie flavors. It was amazing. The Boy Scouts were there barbecuing, and we also had some like earthy, crunchy vendor type things going on. That leads me to one of the big ideas that the foundation is working on right now, which is to hopefully have a regular farmers market in Biscayne Park. We are connecting with other boards like the Arts Board to collaborate and share ideas about it. We hope to engage with the Parks and Parkways Board and the Ecology Board as well, to hopefully create like a quality, curated fun and money earning farmers market, whether it be every month, which is like what we aspire to, or maybe once per quarter, or even if it's just on Earth Day every year, something like that. We have a lot of ideas and we've been making our connections and learning how to set up events like that. So that's something that we're working on. And then finally, we are full speed ahead on our idea to revamp the rec center interior. We've heard from some community members and residents, and everyone who we've talked to just overwhelmingly love and support the idea. So as I said before, this Saturday, we're hosting a Make Your Own Mother's Day, like crafting activity at the rec center. And at the same time, I'm gonna have out like my vision boards, different printouts, and I'll be there to answer questions. So if anybody would like to hear more about the details, I have an extensive plan that I'm going to be rolling out very soon. So this would be like a preview. And then soon after that, I'll be sending out in social media and email in different ways, like brochures about the idea, and eventually come to the commission. So please come by with your kids on Saturday from 10 to 3 to make your own Mother's Day, or check out our ideas for the rec center revamp. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole has a report.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nicole Payne. I am the new chair of the Public Art Advisory Board, soon to be Arts and Culture Board. And there's two things that I wanted to bring up today. The first of them is hopefully our upcoming Jazz Day event, although we are now going to call it Jazz in the Park. So I wanted to announce to you guys and get the final approval, but we want to move the new date to May 28th, which is the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. We have shortened it quite a bit to make it just a lot more manageable as a first time thing. So it'll now be 4 to 8 p.m. Still in the rec center field, and we're going to have 4 acts that are going to perform pretty much, 4 sets of 30 to 45 minutes or so. I did speak with Mario about budget and what would be required from you all in order to put on an event. So just for the village costs, he said he would generously waive the permit fee. Police would be $600 and public works would be $120 or $240, depending if we need 1 or 2 people. So the total cost of the event would look like around $800 to $900. That's what we would ask for you guys to put in, if that's possible. And then we have our own fundraising plans as far as the entertainment and the promotional materials and that sort of thing. So I wanted to know you all's thoughts on that, and if it's okay, if we can go ahead. And then the second thing is just a save the date for Mango Fest, which is our next event that we're planning. The board would like to hold that on Saturday, June 25th. So we just wanted to go ahead and bring that up. That's all.
Thank you.
Nicole, what was the time for Jazz in the Park, please?
4 to 8 p.m.
Anybody have any questions for Nicole? Thank you. Are there any other
Mayor, I think,
board reports?
Mayor, I think part of the request from the Arts Board is whether the commission will entertain waiving the overtime cost, which is going to round about 900 for the village, if the commission would entertain that. I do need direction if the commission wants to entertain that, because it is Memorial Day weekend, and so we would need to schedule police officers to come in, and also public works employees and so forth, before they make their plans for the long weekend.
What did you call it? You're going to waive overtime?
The request from the board was for the village to pick up the costs of the overtime of staff.
Of the overtime. Okay. I heard you say waive. Okay.
Is there any comments on that? Vice Mayor Kennedy? What's your opinion?
Look, I like the idea of the Jazz in the Park. I'm hearing it cold right now, so it's a little awkward to hear the details of it. I wish I had it in writing. Do the boards, are they aware that they can submit a report in writing and it can be added to the agenda? And I would always appreciate that, especially if you're asking us to approve something. So I have time to review it, possibly ask you questions outside of the meeting, things like that. But yeah, I like the idea of it. So Mario, can you sort of tell us how that would work on behalf of the village?
Mario, I'm wondering if we should speak to you separately and give you our opinions and then you can relay it back?
You can't do that.
Can't do that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Do we need to just vote it?
I would prefer a vote. I should be able to allocate money in the Parks Department towards the event, which will then get split into police and public works for their payout.
So can I make a motion that we approve the $900 for this?
I'll second that for discussion. So if they're, I don't know how this works. If they raise money at the event, we can't ask them to repay the village for it, can we? That money goes through the foundation, correct?
Know who's sponsoring this event?
The Arts and Culture Advisory Board.
But I, like you, Vice Mayor, this is the first.
You're hearing it cold too. Yeah, okay.
And so I don't know if they're charging entry fees. I don't know if they're getting donations. So it's very difficult to respond.
Can I respond? This is the same event that I proposed last meeting that I emailed the plan and all of the details. The only thing that's changed is the date and the time. We shortened it and we changed the date to make it, which you guys asked us to, or asked me to last meeting. You asked me to move it back. So we moved it back a month, but it's exactly the same event. It's the same thing I emailed to every single one of you back in April. I do have a separate budget that the Arts Board and I have been working on as far as the costs outside of the village that we're not asking the village to pay for. And this is going to be fundraised independently I've been working with the foundation and making sure that everything is good to go. But we are going to fundraise separately, which we are allowed to. We just have to, put the money through the foundation and whatnot.
Does the board have any money right now that they could spend, that you could spend of your own for this event?
We
They're
do
paying
have
the musicians too.
I have
I'm asking, I'm not hearing all the math on this.
So I have actually, if you want to see it, a sample budget of what it would look like, not for the permits and policing, but just as far as entertainment and promotional materials goes.
So the $900 is just for the expenses that the village would incur.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the expenses of your event itself.
Correct. The board does have money. However, I was planning on not tapping into that, or if we did, it would only be for use for the refreshments, which we would then sell, like water bottles, sort of thing, that we would get that money back. The plan is to completely independently fundraise via like Facebook fundraiser, private donations. The total estimated budget that I'm thinking we will need aside from village costs is $1,850. And we do have already a private donor pledge of $500, which is roughly a third. So I do think it's feasible, but the cost of entertainment, which is the main, paying the musicians, like I said at the last meeting, as much as we get is how many people will hire, but we can still confidently do it. If we need to scale it back because we don't have the budget, we can still do it. It's not an issue, but I do think that we will be able to get at least close to what our target is just by privately fundraising, just specifically for this event.
Can I ask, how are you going to advertise this village-wide as far as the village is concerned?
So I would like to advertise it on Nextdoor. If you got any social media platforms we are planning on doing door hangers. I want to do flyers in the boxes around the park, yard signs as well to put up like in the swales. Pretty much, every way that I've seen it, anything advertised.
Did you look into the cost for the door hangers and the
Yes,
signs?
that's in my little budget.
Can we do email blast for the village?
I have a question for the city manager. Is this feasible, or does the city manager have a problem with taking this money out of the budget and putting it towards this?
If that's the will of the commission, we should be able to accomplish it. My only concern, the same concern I had last month, although I absolutely love the idea of the event, there has been other boards and the foundation that have pushed off events this year because of budgeting and not being able to have anything within the budget to be able to do it. So it's just more of a fairness factor for the other boards as well. but we do have money in the budget that we can allocate. It's under $1,000 for overtime costs. So we are able to do that if that's the will of the commission.
Mario, can we email blast this to?
Of course, that's no cost.
That's not an issue.
So Mario, this money then would really just cover the village's hard expenses for this event, and they're going to pay for the rest of it. So the success of the event really falls on the board, and whatever they're able to accomplish is coming out of their pockets, not ours. This is really going to cover just the police and some staff. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have, let me just, let
I
me,
made a motion.
Madam Mayor,
I-
does
Mike.
that mean for the other boards, we would do the same thing if they came across?
I ask a quick question? Do you have any idea of, are you anticipating a certain amount of people? Did you have any clue of what you're anticipating? Because obviously that's going to determine also the cost, because if it's 100 people as opposed to 800 people, it's a big difference, right? So
I'm definitely anticipating less than 100.
Less than 100?
Yes. And
Really?
it is
Oh,
a
I think
4-hour
you're
event.
underestimating it.
I'm not entirely sure of the visual of how many people in a crowd, but it's definitely the last event I went to was the Christmas event at the park, and it's definitely not going to be that large a scale. But it is, yeah, I am anticipating people to come.
You are going to advertise outside the village as
Yes.
well.
Yes, of course.
So you really have no idea.
No.
No,
So that's.
it's okay.
But it is, I know it is a
Start
first time
somewhere.
event. A lot of people are out of town, but I'm hoping mostly to get a big pull from the surrounding community and people that are going to see the flyer and hear the music and want to bring their kids out. And that's my target audience for this.
Well, we'll be there, so.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds nice, but I'll be in Rhode Island. But can I move the question? Judy Hamelberg made the motion, Shante, and it was seconded by Mac Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's carried.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And the Mango
us
Fest, do we
proud.
need to do anything else about that at that time or at this time? Because that event will be, we'll talk about it more in detail at the next commission meeting, but I just wanted to announce it so it's not a huge surprise. But I will send a report about it and details in advance. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Okay, thank you. Are there any village commission reports?
Yes.
Go ahead, Judy. Commissioner Hamelberg.
I want to thank Ed and Valerie and Mario for the resolution urging the governor to veto the net metering bill. He did veto it, and I really appreciate all the support we all gave. The entire state of Florida pretty much reached out to him from what I understand. I attended the League of Cities Miami-Dade meeting this month with Major O'Halpern and Key Biscayne. Sally Heyman's office is advertising part-time summer jobs for Miami-Dade County parks. There are interviews set for Saturday, May 7th. You can apply in person from, I believe, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Tamiami Park if any of the teenagers in Biscayne Park are looking for summer jobs. You can go to Sally Heyman's website for the details. I attended the fundraiser for Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. They are relocating to a new space once they get their building up. They were in the permitting phase with the city of Miami right now, and their new location is very close to us, abutting El Portal on the New River. I did donate some Easter baskets for the foster youth program on behalf of our village. And I want to thank Isa for a wonderful Easter egg hunt here at the park. I was able to attend the City of North Miami Police Memorial Ceremony honoring their 3 fallen officers. There I reconnected with actually one of their retired officers who was a patient of mine 10 years ago. So that was really great. It was a beautiful but very somber ceremony, complete with bugle and bagpipes. Florida League of Cities now has a Facebook page called Local Voices United, and it's to help community organizing on local issues for people who wish to do something on an issue but don't know where to turn to or who to contact. So I would recommend any of us who are concerned about things going on in our state and want to deal with things on a higher level, to go to the Local Voices United Facebook page for the Florida League of Cities. And I also want to thank Mario and the staff for the driveway and Great Waste flyers that went out this week. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, do you have a report?
No, I don't.
Vice Mayor Kennedy?
Yeah, I have a couple of thanks and then a small request. So the thanks and congratulations. First of all, Shantae, thank you for all the work you do for us, and congratulations on being honored this week for the Municipal Clerks Week. You're a very welcome addition to the village. You make my life easier. You save my butt every once in a while. Mario, Isa did a fabulous job. Isa and the rec center staff and all of your staff did a fabulous, fabulous job at the Easter event. I mean, really, it's just stellar what this village is able to pull off and how we're able to pull the community together. I don't know other communities that do things like that so well. So congratulations to you and Isa and your staff. And congratulations to you on the I don't know what you're calling it, the information packet that was put on the doors that Judy already referenced, that had the driveway brochure and the trash brochure inside. Lots of positive feedback from the community about that. They may not have liked all the things they read in there necessarily, or some deadlines that they saw, but they know, and they really appreciate knowing what's going on and knowing what we expect them to do with their driveways, especially and their trash. So thank you for that. It was very nicely done. And I want to say thanks to all the outgoing board members. So there was a little ceremony here at the beginning. I'm not sure we conveyed very clearly what happened there, but the folks that were here in the room that got proclamations and some people at home that we thanked by Zoom are outgoing board members. These are residents who serve the community on some of our advisory boards. And we had some people whose terms ended and left for other reasons, and they served with distinction and they make this village a better place. So I just want to say thank you to all the outgoing board members, several of whom are here in the room. And again, thanks for the people who are nominating themselves. Now I have a really quick request, Mario. The land development code changes that we'll be talking about, what I call the McMansion ordinance, that includes some plants and landscaping kind of thing. That automatically goes through P&Z before it comes back to us. And that's happening soon, right? They already looked, actually, I think they pushed it off one meeting, but it will be coming to us hopefully in the month of June. We'll see what happens. Would it be possible, considering the nature of that specific section, the landscaping, would it be possible, even though it's not officially required, to send that through Ecology and ask them to share their opinion on that section of it only, not the entire thing? Is that allowed legally, Valerie? And I would appreciate hearing what they have to say about just the plant section of that, the tree plant things that we're talking about.
Oh, there's certainly nothing that prohibits us from asking any of the boards for their input on it.
Okay.
Or they can come to the meeting and talk to us.
Okay. If you guys would support that, I'd value their input on that specific part of it. Anyone has an opinion on that? Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Samaria?
Yes. As former chairperson of the Recreation Board, I am not surprised of the great work that Isa has done, especially on the Easter hunt. But I want to congratulate him and his staff. Makes me very proud that I was the chairperson of the Recreation Board and only had to leave it because I was being a commissioner. I would also like to thank all the outgoing board members. I think they're going to be greatly missed. I just hope we don't continue to lose more board members because it's very hard for us to get board people in the first place. I want to thank our clerk for the short time that she's been here, has done a super, super great job. And I want to thank Mario for hiring her because I think that's one of his best hires that he's done. And I want to really thank all the residents. I agree with Vice Mayor Kennedy that we've been getting a lot of participants and residents showing up, which is something that I've been fighting for a long time that we should have. So I welcome everybody that shows up. And again, for the new board members that are going to be applying for tonight, I look forward to working with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our attorney, Ed Dion, do you have a report?
Mayor, Commissioners, as you recall, you hired our firm to represent the village in an appeal of the decision of the Federal Aviation Administration back a year or so ago with respect to the change of flight paths that significantly affect this village and many others. So what we've done is we joined with other villages and towns and cities and hamlets and burgs and all the rest of those places and have coordinated an effort, our appeal to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits out of Atlanta. All of the briefs have been filed at this point in time, and I just wanted to announce that there will be oral argument on those briefs on Monday, June the 6th at 10 o'clock at the 12th floor courtroom at 99 Northeast 4th Street. I don't invite you to go. It's like watching paint dry. You will not get to participate. Both sides have 15 minutes within which to argue. You will not be able to bring signs. You will not be able to protest. All you can do is sit quietly and listen to the argument and the questions of the judges in the event they have any. But I wanted to make sure that everybody had that date and time in the event you feel compelled to go. Again, it's Monday, June the 6th at 10 a.m., the 12th floor courtroom at 99 Northeast 4th Street. And I will tell you right now that as lay people, you can't bring cell phones into the courthouse. They're going to search you pretty. You have to go through a magnetometer as you do regular courthouse. But you're welcome to participate. It is a public event.
And parking is really expensive.
And parking, and there's no free parking in downtown Miami.
I don't think we're carpooling either. Okay.
They feed you lunch. and give us some
Anything
good
else?
news.
I had an argument there a few months ago, and I literally couldn't find the place. I had to ask somebody where it was, and I'm pretty familiar with downtown Miami, but it cost me about $30 to park. So,
Ed, real quick follow-up question. Can you give us an idea when we might hear an answer? Weeks, months?
it could be months. It could be more than months. I've had cases that I didn't get decision on for over a year.
Okay, and then the attorney who's representing us will let you know, and you can report back. If it's
We will be notified directly because we are participating in the thing.
I see.
But we're allowing one of the attorneys who's the preeminent challenger to FAA orders to handle all of the argument for all of the villages, because otherwise we'd be splitting it up to 2 minutes apiece, and that clearly would not be effective.
So you'll be there as well?
I am not going to.
Not going to be there. Okay.
We look again. There's really nothing for me to do, and so I just don't think it's worth our time to do that.
And that decision is a final decision then?
No, well, maybe not.
Nothing's fine.
It depends on what it is. There is a possibility that there could be an appeal to the United States Supreme Court, but that's highly, highly unlikely.
That one I want to attend. Okay, thank you, Ed.
Okay. Our manager's report.
Madam Mayor, my report is in the agenda. However, early this evening before the meeting, we did receive an email of a press release from the governor's office, and I want to share on the screen because I think it's worthy. Over the last 2 fiscal years, the village, in this fiscal year, the village assigned a budget line item of $10,000 for a grant writer. Last fiscal year, under my spending authority, I hired a grant writer to apply for an FDOT grant that we received. Well, like I said earlier this evening, Governor Santos put out a press release announcing the awards of various resiliency grants, something that was initially brought to our attention by the Ecology Board and their chair, Alexander, working with him, myself, and then finally the grant writer taking over the real heavy lifting on the final application. for $12,000 over 2 years, the village now has over $125,000 worth of grants. Today, we were awarded $85,600 for a vulnerability assessment and resiliency strategy master plan. What this will do is the very first step that we need to have in order to continue the process with the state to eventually receive grants for construction of stormwater and other type of environmental controls. It's a huge win for us. 85,000 is 3 or 4 millage points, basically. So this is a great win for the village, and the 12,000 that we've spent on a grant writer has paid for itself tenfold. So I just wanted to announce that. Again, we got the press release about 5 something today. So once I hear the official word via email, because the agency hasn't even emailed me yet, we know, then we'll definitely make those announcements. Next steps, Mario, what does this mean? Once we get the contract signed with the state, which still could take several months because of funding and how the budget and everything in the state works. Once the contract is signed, we'll have to do an RFP for a company to come in to do the assessment. It's going to be a tight budget, but we feel that we'll be able to get everything. And then from there, you go into a different phase for an implementation plan. And then from there, you go into design of an actual project and then the construction of an actual project. So many of the other cities that you see on the screen, many of them are several years into the process. And they have different adaptation plans and updates, depending on their geographical location. They have bigger issues because they have coastal line that they have to worry about and all those type of things. But it's a great first step for us. So I just wanted to congratulate the village and to let you all know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
That's fantastic news.
No.
May I ask a quick question, Mario? I'm sorry. Last meeting, we discussed when we would start the budget process, and you were waiting for the preliminary numbers to come from Miami-Dade County before we start. Can we get some things on the calendar? And the reason I ask is I'm traveling for work again, and I have upcoming trips, and I want to make sure that I can schedule myself around these. I have some flexibility about my schedule, so I'd like to get us for us to get some dates on the calendar as soon as possible, even if they're a little farther out past when you expect to get those numbers.
We're trying to finalize the dates because we have to work around what the county and the school board put together and what the final deadlines are by the state. Once we have a finalized calendar, we'll be able to fill in those spots where we can. I think the first meeting for a special meeting would be June 22nd would be my request.
Okay.
There we would do 2 things at that meeting. So now I just have to see how to work in before that meeting. But the 2 things for that meeting would be to set the upper limit of what the millage rate would be. Because it is the deadline to turn it into the county is prior to our July meeting. And we have July 4th in the middle of that. And then the second is we would also need to set the non-ad valorem tax or fee, which is solid waste. So we will need to do those 2 items. And I'm hoping for June 22nd. To be able to do that. And I think that's like right before, if I'm looking, just give me 1 second. Second to last week of June. And then from there, I got to try to play with scheduling to see if we can hold a preliminary discussion on what the initial numbers came in and what the request is later this week. Advisory boards and the commissioners, if I haven't already sent it, fog brain, for any budget requests for expenditures.
We got ours today. I don't know. I didn't see who else was copied on it. I don't know if you what board's on there, but
Yeah.
I got it from you.
Okay, so the boards also received.
So can we put June 22nd? I'm assuming it's a 6 PM thing. We usually do them at 6. Can we put that on the
If
calendar?
everybody's available.
Everyone okay with that? So we can at least get that done?
Would it be possible for me to attend by Zoom because I don't think I'm going to be
Yeah.
in the state? Okay.
Want to do it a different day? Okay. All right.
I just don't think I'm going to be here.
Okay, so Wednesday, June 22nd, 6 PM here in the log cabin will be our first budget workshop, whatever you call it, just for those two items. Okay, cool. Thank you for at least getting that on the calendar for now.
Yeah.
And the sooner we can
We'll
get
send
other
that out.
dates would help me. I have July.
Valerie, okay.
travel.
6 o'clock Wednesday, June 22nd. And then once we're able to finalize the rest of the schedule, we'll start coordinating
Beautiful.
those workshops for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your hard work, Mario. You did well. Next time, get twice as much money. That'd be nice.
We'll try.
I need a motion to approve and second for the advisory board meeting minutes only. Can I have a motion on that on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I make a motion.
That's the second one. We'll take care of the first one first. Okay, Dan makes the motion. And the second is
Mac, doesn't matter.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you have that, Shante, that it's Dan and Judy. Okay. Now the commission meeting minutes. Vice Mayor Kennedy, you wanted to discuss that.
Yeah, two quick things. And to be a little picky, but I think I need to for these two items. The commission meeting minutes are the official record of the meeting. So we have to make sure things are accurate on there. The video is not the official record. The meeting minutes are. There are two things on there I would like to have amended. The reserve, we talked about the reserve, the emergency reserve, and it just says that we discussed it. We did a bit more than discussed it. We decided that it would become part of the budget ordinance when we finalize the budget this year. And I think it's important for anyone who reads these minutes in the future that they would know that we took action on that important item. The other thing is I brought an item about bamboo fencing, and we decided it's in the meeting minutes. It just says it was discussed. And again, we did move that forward. We asked staff to send it to the code compliance and P&Z board so they could bring it back to us so that we could act on that as well. So I don't want people to read these minutes and think that we just talked about something and didn't take action. We did take action. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like the meeting minutes to reflect that. And then I would make a motion to approve them with those changes.
Okay, I'll second that. And Dante, he'll give you the wording for the changes that have to go in that. Vice Mayor Kennedy made the motion. I seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is passed. Ordinance number 2022-02. Mr. Dion.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, adopting a new chapter 19 of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code entitled Vacation Rental License Program, providing for the licensing and regulation of short-term vacation rentals, providing for definitions, providing for licensing requirements, providing for standards, providing for the administration of the program, providing for enforcement, providing for penalties, providing for an appellate process, providing for vesting of existing rental agreements, providing for inclusion in the code and scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is second reading.
Thank you. Are there any public comments for ordinance 2022-02? You want to step up to the microphone, please? Yes. Okay, are there any comments? Jill, you have a comment? Jill, do you have a comment? Okay, is there any comments from in here?
Okay. Who? Oh, Bob Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Bob Anderson, 119th Street, 11th Place. On this ordinance that under 19.1.14 has to do with appeals. Why does that part direct going in front of the commission instead of going to the code board? Then under 19.1.16, why is there a dollar amount for fine, for this particular fine in the ordinance, not in the resolution? That's the two questions I have on that ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, does that, Mario, do you know the answer to those questions?
Sure, go ahead.
The code board is going to be hearing the violations, so the appeal cannot go to the code board. It would have to go to a different board. In this case, it would be the commission. And generally, penalties should be prescribed by ordinance. I know historically the village has done it by resolution, but it should be in the ordinance.
Okay, did you get that, Bob? Okay, are there any other comments from the public?
I like
Linda Dillon?
Linda Dillon, 712 115th Street. I think it's wonderful that we're coming up with some things that will help regulate this particular issue. But I only have one question, is how do we go about identifying those particular properties? Because we don't seem to have any way of knowing which properties are rental properties, let alone which ones are running as Airbnbs.
Madam Mayor, if I may. There's a few different ways that you can do that, similar to being able to go onto Zillow to see, or any of the other websites to see what properties are up for rent. There is software available by multiple companies that can scroll through these Airbnb, BY something, basically where you can rent it out yourself instead of going through Airbnb and all these other type of companies and websites. And then they can help track. Those softwares came into the market simply because the companies would block the city IP addresses so that none of the staff or code departments would be able to go onto their website to identify those properties. So these companies came in to counter that. So we would definitely look into some type of software to be able to go through for the next budget cycle.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I'd like to make a
No more
motion.
Public comments? I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-02, ordinance adopting new chart 19th of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, is there any discussion on that item?
Yeah. Sorry.
Commissioner Hammelberg, did you want to?
Yeah, I just want to say, and even if some of these get by us, the ones that are going to be problematic and parking and noise, and at least it gives us something to fall back on and some kind of teeth in our regulations. Even if we only catch 75 or 80% of them, the ones that are going to be troublesome for us, hopefully we'll be able to do something about it. If people are quiet and minding their own business and not causing any trouble, and I mean, we'd like to get all of them regulated, but we certainly, our biggest issue is the ones that have been causing us issues with traffic, with parking, with noise, and the things like that.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion from the
I
commission?
just have a question.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Question for our attorneys. Well, I'm certainly in favor of this. I have some serious concerns with that statement that you wrote in your memo there where it talks about the Burt Harris Act. So I would like for you to talk a little bit more about that and how that could potentially impact this, because I'm very concerned. There's a lot of people that have actually bought homes here for Airbnb purposes alone. So I would like to find out how that would could potentially impact.
Sure. So just by way of background, there is a statute called the Burt Harris Act, which provides property owners with a cause of action against the government for any regulations that the government enacts that reduces their investment-backed expectation, for the property. So there have been challenges to county and municipal ordinances that restrict or limit occupancy for short-term rentals. All of them are very fact specific, so I can't say that, something like that would occur here, but it's something to be mindful of. As explained in the memo, if a claim were to arise, we could deal with that. There are certain provisions in the statute whereby municipalities engage in a settlement agreement and accept that property out of the ordinance, and there's other, potential ways to tackle that should it arise. But certainly you should be aware of that.
But how could that potentially financially impact the village?
Well, it depends, right? So if they have a viable claim, then that's the conversation that we would have, with the commission as to how you want to address it. If we assess it as viable, then obviously it's not something that we're going to contest, in all the court, but it's one of those situations, as I indicated, we could potentially accept them out of the ordinance, so then they would not, there wouldn't be no, I guess, fiscal impact, would you say, or exposure liability?
Commissioner, we're not anticipating litigation, but someone could come and say, listen, I bought this house, and I want to put 20 people in there when the maximum capacity is 10. So the question becomes, was that reasonable for them when they bought the house to anticipate putting 20 people into a 2-bedroom house? So that's the type of thing we're talking about. Our firm actually has won cases that have been up in Flagler County, especially, that challenged their ordinance, which was a lot tougher than ours. Ours is more of a registration type of thing. We just want to know who's out there, who's in charge, so that if there are issues, we can get in touch with that person and we can address the issues, whether it's noise or garbage or parking or whatever it is. The couple of places in here that perhaps someone might raise some issues are in fact maximum occupancy and that type of stuff. But I really think in this instance, the chances of litigation are minimal. And I think that we can address them on a case-by-case, fact-by-fact basis.
And from my perspective, we're a bedroom community. We're strictly residential. It's not like we've got any commercial borders or any hotel industry here. So for people to think that they're going to turn Biscayne Park into a hotel community, I don't understand that the courts can be supportive of that, because that is not where we've ever been.
Yeah,
well, I know the
Commissioner
state's.
Gonzalez, also that Burt Harris Act applies to every single decision that the commission essentially makes with regards to ordinances on properties or anything. So
Yeah, but I thought about that, and one is the entire community, and now we're talking about a specific portion of the community, right? As opposed to, we're doing this to the entire community, the driveway ordinance, right? But now we're talking about, okay, well, we're only going to address this portion of the community, which is the Airbnb situation, right? So it does change the dynamics of that argument. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I'm all for it. I just have some serious concern regarding this, knowing how the state is acting towards Airbnbs. But this-
And Attorney
Vulnerable.
Ed or Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, there was an additional legislation this past session where they capped, I think, the amount in the $100,000 or $200,000 range, or did that motion, or did that bill fail? Okay, because I thought there was an additional bill to strengthen it that then Florida League of Cities got involved and kind of watered it down, but I didn't know.
It doesn't apply to Bert Harris claims.
Okay.
And Commissioner, just to further answer your question on that, people choose to be vacation rentals. No one's forcing them to be a vacation rental. If they want to be a vacation rental, just like if you want to rent your property full-time, you know, you still have to register with Village. And this is really not a whole lot different than that.
Okay, is there any other?
Yeah, I have a couple of things if I may. So I have 4 little things I want to discuss. So 19.1.3, if you guys would flip to that. Let me find it on my screen. 19.1.3, lost my place.
Mac,
Here we go.
We're going to move on from noise ordinance. This is Andres, 11010 Northeast 9th Avenue. I apologize.
We don't, this isn't about noise ordinance, and the
Okay.
public is closed for comment.
I apologize.
Okay, so let's look at 19.1.3, the third paragraph where it discusses habitable rooms and it discusses what's considered to be a bedroom, basically. And then there's a list of exclusions, rooms that are not considered to be bedrooms. And we amended that last time. And what we see in red are the changes that Valerie made for us. I would like you guys to consider and discuss adding to exclusions RVs, trailers, other kinds of outdoor living situations. We actually are, you know, it's happening now where there are RVs and trailers parked in yards that are being rented out as part of an Airbnb. Can we add that in the list of exclusions, Valerie? Can we do that? And what do you guys think of that?
Aren't they disallowed in the village anyways? In your back?
Out in your yard, yeah.
That's true.
It can be sitting there.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm concerned that these are being rented out and that if someone really turns their property into a business, all of a sudden RVs are popping up in the backyard and people are renting them out. So I kind of sprung this on Valerie before the meeting because I thought she knew everything about the state law.
Conferred with Ed, and I think that we would.
I can't hear you, Valerie. I'm sorry.
I conferred with Ed, and
Yeah.
we do believe that we could probably include that as part of the definition for vacation rental. So we'll probably.
In the exclusions of habitable rooms,
Not in a habitable room, that it's included as a vacation rental.
just precluded altogether. And what words would you use? RVs, trailers? What would you say? I'll let you figure it out. Okay, so what do you guys think? Can we agree on that? Is that a consensus? Okay, cool. Excellent. The next thing is 19.15 D as in dog. If you would flip to that, please. This is applications are sworn under penalty of perjury, and false applications are the basis for revocation of any license issued pursuant to the application. I didn't make a note of this, and I thought we discussed it last time, so you may, Valerie, just tell me we already discussed this. Can we apply that to future applications as well, or can it only be applied to the previous application? Meaning if someone lies on their application, they lie, they provide false information. What it says now is that we can revoke the license. Can we also say you can't do it all together now? You can only apply it to that one. Okay, fair enough. So we got a no on that one. Okay, I talked to Valerie about this. Well, we didn't talk, we emailed about this, but 19.1.16A is an apple. I find the language in this section to be ambiguous, and
I like lay people to be able to read codes and rules and understand what they mean without having to, what they mean without having to confer with an attorney and parse commas. And I find that section to be ambiguous. If you're 19.1.16, A is an apple. It's on page 10. It's on page 10. At the top of it's at the
Well,
very
everybody's
top of
getting-
page 10.
While everybody's getting there, there is a typo where it says and a 2,000. It should be
Right.
and a $2,000 fine. So we'll insert the word fine there and whatever other changes if the commission agrees to change.
Okay, so if you read what it says, it's the second and subsequent offenses that I find to be ambiguous. I think I know what we mean it to say, but if you look about halfway down, it says such a violation shall be subject to a fine in the amount of $1,000 for the first offense. So that's very clear. First offense, $1,000. But then it goes on to say, it will now say, and a $2,000 fine for the second and subsequent offenses. So it means 2,000 and you do it again, it's 2,000, you do it again, it's 2,000. So it's 2,000 for the second and subsequent offenses, plus a suspension of the vacation rental license or a refusal to issue a vacation rental license as provided in hereafter. It says, provided the second and subsequent offenses occur in any continuous 12-month period. So what it's saying is, if there's a second offense and subsequent offenses within any one 12-month period, it's $2,000 a pop and you can have your license taken away. But then it goes on to say, a fine of $5,000 shall be imposed for the third and any subsequent offenses in any continuous 12-month period. So that's what's ambiguous to me, unless I'm not understanding what I'm reading. Because it sounds like the first it says $1,000 and then 22222, but then it says third is 5. Am I not reading this correctly, or is there something about the 12-month thing that is throwing me off here?
I think it's a 12-month thing that's throwing you off. If it's within the 12-month period, then that's when it's triggered. So, but let's say 2 years go by and it's the second offense, then it would be $2,000. No, I'm confused.
No, because it says subsequent occur in any continuous 12-month period. So if you look at a 12-month snapshot, there's a first offense, $1,000, second offense, $2,000, third offense, $2,000 within that 12-month period. But the 12-month keeps moving forward, I guess. But then all of a sudden it's third offense, it's $5,000.
But it also says if the code enforcement board finds the violation to be irreparable and irreversible in nature. So is that the qualifying statement on the 5,000?
Yes, but going back to the initial, what is the concern?
It sounds like it's contradictory. It sounds like it's 1,000 and then 2 and then 2, but then later it says the third one is 5. See, if we all have to have this big of a conversation to understand what it means, it sounds like the wording might be better somehow, because it really is confusing to me. I read it many times and I don't understand what we're trying to say here. It sounds like we're trying to say the third one is $5,000 if it's considered to be irreparable and it's in that 12-month period of time. But is it the 12-month period of time moves? Is it this irreparable thing jumps in and that's what makes it 5? It's very confusing.
I think then the issue would be just to remove and subsequent offenses after the 2,000. So it's 1,000 for the first offense, 2,000 for the second offense.
And 5,000 for the third in the same 12-month period of time.
Yeah, it says 12-month twice, the 2,000, then when we
Because
jump to the
because it
5,000,
adds,
it's
yeah, because it
12 months
adds that-
again.
Yeah. Let's look at it this way. We can make it be whatever we want it to be as long as it's legal. Do we want it to be in any 12-month period of time? The first offense is $1,000, the second offense is 2, and the third offense is 5. Is that what we intend it to be? Because you could just word it that simply.
Says after the $2,000, it says for the second and subsequent offenses plus a suspension of the vacation rental
Right.
license.
Yeah.
Or a refusal to issue a vacation rental license.
That kicks in at the second one.
Right, so then what's the $5,000 for? We're already suspended their license. Who are you-
Because some people their license may be suspended, but they're still renting it out.
Okay, so that.
Where the
applies-
suspension is
another-
temporary.
so that applies to somebody that may have already had their license suspended, that you can fine them $5,000 based on this, correct?
Right. And then the suspension of license is also in a provision below, which provides, for how long they can suspend the license for.
Right there. So for the first time, it's like a 30-day suspension. And it can go into over a year suspension. So it just kind of depends on that. I think the intent, if we remove and subsequent offenses from the $2,000 sentence, I think that kind of solves it, because the intent is first offense is 1,000, second offense is 2,000 plus a suspension, which I believe in section C is a 30-day suspension. And then after that, it goes to $5,000 with a longer period of suspension of the license.
So Mario, you're saying if we simply strike the 3 words and subsequent offenses after 2,000, it then becomes 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, and then it's 5,000 a pop every time after that within the 12-month period of time.
I believe
Where's
so.
the suspension?
It's up there after,
I mean,
after the second one. they can-
I know where it says that, but it doesn't say it's like mandatory. And if we've suspended them and they're still
They
renting.
still violate. They still violate. So we're going to continue, this gives us muscle to find them more. It's kind of like if you leave your trash cans out, you get fined. And if you continue to leave it out, you're going to get fined again. So, I mean, people still violate after they've been fined is the whole point here. So if that's what we intend it to mean, then it could be as simple as taking those 3 words out, like Mario said. And then, I mean, if it's what we want, if we want it to be 1,000 and then 2 and then 5, that would fix it. And then Valerie, the 12-month period of time, does that start? Oh, I'll wait till they're done. Yeah, that's what I want to make clear of as well. Because it also moves with the offenses, you know what I mean?
The second offense automatically kick in a suspension of the vacation rental license automatically?
Yeah, that's what it says. Plus, this is after the second, for the first 1,000 for the first offense, 2,000 for the second offense, because we're going to take out subsequent plus a suspension. So the suspension is automatic.
And then if you look down in subsection C, it says the village manager shall suspend the vacation rental license for 30 days upon a second violation of the stop.
Right.
So it is mandatory.
So let's go back up to the money. Is that what we want it to be? Do we want it to be 1, 2, 5? I'm happy with that.
We also, I don't know if it's written somewhere else, but can we also say, what happens if they don't pay the fine?
Well, that,
Goes to a lien the property.
It just becomes a lien.
These are just code
But I mean,
violations.
if they don't pay if these particular individuals don't pay this fine, can that also trigger a suspension of their license?
The second one does automatically.
No, I'm talking about even the first one. They get $1,000 fine, right?
Right.
And I don't pay it.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, well, why
Oh, I
can't I
see what
just,
you mean.
why can't I just right then and there, look, you haven't paid your fine, you have 30 days to pay your fine, you haven't paid it, can we suspend their license then?
Could we do it 30? It has to be paid in within
don't know.
30
I
days
just
or
threw that out. I just
suspended
threw that number out.
automatically?
Just never pay it,
Just never pay it, put a lien.
which is what we would do.
And then we negotiate that.
Although a fine of $1,000 a day, if you put a lien on, is a lot different than ours. When you put on a lien onto the house,
Uh-huh.
the code board, at least that I'm aware of, has always put it as daily fines after, if you don't come into compliance and you don't pay after X date, there'll be a daily fine on the house that's put into a lien. So every day it keeps going and going. And so it all depends on what the violation and what the ordinance says, where
It's at
sometimes
the
it's a couple
code,
$100.
it's at the codes board's discretion. It's not really, they don't have to say $1,000. They can just say $50. I mean, they're not that they're going to say that, but I'm saying they could.
They could.
Okay, so it's not a for sure thing that they're going to say, okay, well, you didn't pay your $1,000. I'm going to keep fining
But
you.
they also take into consideration that this isn't a resident, that this is a business operating within the village.
Yeah, I never like to sort of assume it's gonna, our code board does a fabulous job. Fast forward 2 years from now, I don't know who's on it and how fabulous a job they do. I'd rather it be very clear in here. So it's, you take the subjectivity away from things like that. But I think we should address one of these things at a time, or we're getting a little tangled up here in different things. So do we want, guys, do we want it to be $1,000, $2,000, $5,000? Jenny, you're cool with that?
Fine with that.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine for that because I think people, if they're going to take vacation rentals in a residential neighborhood, they need to be responsible to the residences of the neighborhood.
Okay, so for
We can't
starters,
stop them, but we can at least impose something.
Valerie, for starters, can we fix that part of it? Okay, now the 12-month period, does that move forward with the offenses, or does that 12-month period, there's offense number 1, that starts the clock on the 12 months. Does that starting point stay stationary as these other offenses start to stack up? Or does it also move forward? So if they have another offense 3 months later, and then 9 months after that, it no longer ties to the first offense within the 12-month period of time, but it is attached to the second offense in that same 12-month. You see what I mean? It could, the calendar moves. January, there's an offense. That's offense number 1. March, there's an offense. That's offense number 2. The next offense is the following January. That's no longer in the 12-month period of time with the previous January offense, but it is in a 12-month period of time with the second one. And then there's another one in February. That's 3 and 12 months.
You've already suspended their license after the second one.
And they, yeah, but doesn't mean they're right, but it doesn't mean they're not doing it.
Oh, well, if
Yeah.
they're doing it, they get the $5,000.
That's what I'm saying, but that 12-month is what makes this all happen. We want to make
But
sure.
But it becomes irrelevant at that point, in my opinion, because they have a suspended license.
The initial suspension of license is only for 30 days.
Oh, it's only for 30 days.
Correct.
So Valerie, does that, you understand what I'm saying about the 12 months? It starts moving forward. So is it any 12-month snapshot that we measure if there's a certain number of offenses in there?
I think it's any 12-month snapshot.
Because it says in any continuous 12-month period. So anytime we take a 12-month look at the calendar, we can count offenses in there. So that's what it says now? Cool, then I'm happy with that. Okay. Now back to Art's point. Art had another point he wanted to make about this. You just brought up something else you wanted us to address in that section. I do too. Being magnanimous.
Okay.
Okay, so we agree with that. Okay. Okay, look at 19.1.16, D as in dog number 2. So same section, just scroll down to the bottom of the page, D as in dog number 2. It says, the village manager shall revoke a vacation license issued pursuant to this chapter upon the 5th adjudication of either a noise violation or such noise emanated from the vacation rental or the receipt of parking violation, or any combination thereof. So this is specific to parking and noise issues. It's very specific to that, and Mario can revoke their license. Is that revocation permanent? I'm not clear when I read this. Is it revoked and it's permanent, or can they reapply, comply, reapply, and start all over again, being a problem?
It doesn't say.
Yeah, so what do we want it to say, and how would, do you guys want it to be a permanent revocation? Valerie, are we allowed to make it a permanent revocation? Or what is it? But I think we better define it, because that ambiguity is what people will come and get us on.
I don't think you can revoke it in perpetuity. You have to have an opportunity to come back and reapply.
So what do we do with that? Because it's just,
I would recommend that it matches the same as the suspension of license, where it would be, if you revoke it, then they have a 12-month period.
You mean in the section where it's suspended, and if there's multiple suspensions, it's revoked? So just make it match that.
I think that would be the easiest thing to do.
Because revoke means it's, you take it away. So there's got to be, if we intend it to ever be able to come, revoke means it's gone, right? Revoke, it's gone. So we have to figure out what, I think we need to define that and how we could give it back to them or what's going to happen.
We just allow them to reapply in 12 months after the date of revocation.
So should we say that in
we
this
gotta-
section, Ed, or should we refer to the other section and say same rules apply as that?
No, we're going to put it in this section.
Okay.
Ed, just a question, and I'm not 100% sure where, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm trying to formulate the word, so I apologize. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just because someone applies for it doesn't mean that the village has to approve. So if they've already had a suspension, multiple suspensions or revocation, when they apply 12 months later, can the village still deny?
Not if they comply with the registration requirements.
Okay.
And so the section that we're going to match, Ed or Mario, because I think maybe Mario, you were looking at it. For my notes, what section is it that explains that you want to match?
Just further up the page, it's 9.1.16 C,
See what number?
1.
1.19.
Or even number 3.
Okay, so if we agree to that and you guys are going to rewrite it, can we, I'm not sure who made the motion for this. Can whoever did it, was it you, Dan? Can I request Dan to make a friendly amendment and can we still pass this through tonight? Or is any of this significant enough that we have to bring it back again?
It could be passed tonight. It will not change the title. The would be to approve as amended to include RVs and trailers as part of the vacation rental ordinance, to remove the term and subsequent offenses in the penalty provision. And then for section 19.1.16 D2, provide the clarification that it's for 12 months.
Okay, Dan, can you
Yeah.
amend your motion?
Before he
Right,
does
so-
that, I actually have one other thing I want to ask Valerie. And Valerie, there's sections in here where it talks about size of rooms, heights of ceilings, maximum heights, minimum heights, all of that. Does all of that meet Florida building code for what rooms are?
Yes. And
Is that where that came from?
I apologize. I probably should have said it at the beginning, but between first and second reading, we did vet this with Shelley, the village's building official.
Okay,
She provided some guidance to ensure that the language mirrors the Florida Building Code.
beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so do I need to,
I gotta remake the motion with the amended changes.
Just accept what the attorney,
You'll amend them,
read.
you amend your motion to include
the-
what
with the-
Valerie just
yeah.
read.
With the attorney's
And
changes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy, you will amend your seconding?
yes, I'll amend it based on what Valerie read back to us. So it's just, I just want to make sure we're clear. It's 19.1.3 that we're touching, 19.1.16 as an apple, and 19.1.16 D as in dog 2. Those are the 3 sections that we're amending. Yes, Valerie? Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Then
Uh,
I'll,
Valerie, you'll get that to Shantay. Shantay, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor O'Happen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-02 passes second reading.
Okay, ordinance 2022-04. Mr. Dion. Thank you. Is there any public comments on 2022-04? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Can I have a motion or a second?
Yes,
for
I'd like
this?
to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-4, an ordinance amending fiscal year 2021-22 budget ordinance number 2021-12, second reading.
I'm happy to second it.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
motion
if I
made
may.
by Commissioner Samaria, seconded by Commissioner Hammelberg. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I may. Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I also have Paul Winklejohn joining us tonight to discuss any or help answer any questions you may have. The changes between the first reading and the second reading. In the first reading, the commission voted to, instead of using unassigned funds to cover the general fund expenditures that totaled $46,065, we're doing the transfer from the Parks and Recreation Department from a line item for infrastructure project that we don't anticipate will be ready by the end of this fiscal year. So that is the transfer there. In the first budget memo, I incorrectly listed, although the ordinance was correct, the memo for the building fund incorrectly had $11,000. I added everything in there twice, apparently, because the correct amount is $5,476. So that is corrected within the memo that you have in front of you tonight, but it was correct in the ordinance. So Valerie, thank you for catching that. And she told me, and I still put it wrong in the memo, so I apologize. So those were the significant changes between first and second reading.
Okay, is there any discussion by the commissioners? Okay, motion made by Commissioner Samaria, seconded by Commissioner Hammelberg. Can you please call the roll, Shante?
Mayor O'Happen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
Yes,
Ordinance number 2022-04 passes second reading.
And thank you, Paul, for joining us. You know, we put so much into this that having him around and being able to back me up, especially at the commission meeting, is worthwhile for me. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure. You have a good night.
Ordinance 2022-05.
An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending the foregoing sections of Article 3, Commissions, Boards, and Committees of Chapter 2, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Biscayne Park, to revise the names of the following boards: Section 2-32 from Ecology Board to the Sustainability and Resilience Advisory Board, Section 2-36 from the Public Art Advisory Board to the Arts and Culture Advisory Board, and further amending sections 2-31, 2-32, and 2-36 to revise the duties of the aforementioned boards, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on 2022-05? Seeing none, I request a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-5.
Second,
I'll second it, but I also have a comment for Ed or Valerie.
okay. Commissioner comments. Go ahead, Commissioner.
On page 3, the third whereas over time is put together as one word, and it should be 2 separate words over time, I believe.
Who's in charge of grammar?
Use the grammar, please.
Commissioner, where is that?
It says page 1 on the very bottom, page 3 on the corner. Whereas the Florida statutes, whereas Article 3, whereas over time, the scope of several boards has evolved. Do you see it?
Overtime. We're not paying them overtime.
Right, I just want it corrected in the language. Sorry.
It's line 26.
Forget that side.
Madam Mayor, we did ask all the boards if they wanted to change their name. These are the only two boards that have made the request.
Okay,
I have a comment, Jenny.
go ahead.
So I should have pulled this up. I don't have it in front of me. So when Arts asked us to change their name to Arts and Culture, they provided a new mission statement and they gave some detailed things that they would like to help us with, and it was all great stuff. And I see it here reflected in the ordinance. Number 5, if you look, it's on page, it's page 3, line 18, number 5. These are their, basically what they're going to do for us. It says, seek to improve the visual quality of public spaces. Now, prior, it talks about helping us with selecting public art and things like that. In the mission that they provide, the wording's a little different here, but in the mission that they provided to us, it had more extensive language and it spoke about having input on the improvement of public spaces. I'm not certain that the Arts and Culture Board, given the fact that they're an Arts and Culture Board, we should be leaning on them to advise us on public spaces. We have a Planning and Zoning Board that advises on that. We have an Ecology Board that takes into those, would advise us on ecological considerations. We have an outside firm that designs things for us. I'm just not certain that I'm
Parks and
comfortable.
Parkways also does.
I'm sorry, yes, you're absolutely right. Parks and Parkways advises us on plans. It's a lot of input already, and I'm not certain that based on what I understand the Arts and Culture Board will be doing for us, that we need them to seek to improve the visual quality of public spaces. Advising us on art to be placed in public spaces, yes, and that's addressed elsewhere. But I feel like that one item is stepping outside of their lane a little bit farther than I'm comfortable with. I don't think we need them to help us in that regard. I think we have plenty of people helping us in that regard. I would ask that that item be, is the word struck or stricken? Stricken? Sorry.
No, Commissioner Kennedy, I agree with you on that.
I just point out that's existing language in the code.
Okay, if we could strike that, I'd be very happy.
Okay, Dan, will you amend your motion?
I'd like to amend
You guys
my
have any
motion.
opinion on
That
that?
statement?
Yeah, yes.
And Commissioner Hammelberg, will you second the inclusion?
Yeah, I don't think it makes that big a difference, but if it upsets somebody, that's fine.
Well, it's not upsetting me, I'm just tightening the definition.
You finished, Judy? Okay. Dante, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor O'Happen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Himmelberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2022-05 passes first reading.
Thank you. Resolution 2022-20.
Resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, approving the selection of Florida Blue as the provider of employee health insurance and GAP plans. Unum Life Insurance as the provider of life insurance. Solstice as the provider of dental and vision insurance for a one-year period, authorizing the village manager to enter into agreements with these providers, authorizing the village manager to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any public comments?
It's a resolution, ma'am. It's not an ordinance.
Oh, okay. Okay, can I
If I
have a
may.
motion to,
I like motion to approve Resolution 2022-20 Employee Health Insurance 2022 plan year.
in a second?
I'm happy to second it.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Joining us this evening via Zoom is Maureen. She represents the village as the broker who helps put this package together. Last year, I brought to the commission a plan that reduced the overall cost to the village by some 30-something%, which was a great savings. However, this year, we're going to see about 11% increase, 11 or 12% increase. That is still a reduction from the 2020 level plan, but it is creeping up, and I don't anticipate it going down in the near future. We took a look at all the plans. After a conversation with Maureen, I asked her, I made an acquaintance that was in the industry, and they were like, you should look into something called level funding, which is great for small groups like yourself. She went out to the market, she tried, nobody wanted to give us a quote on it. And the quotes that we received for the most part are over 20. I think Humana had a 30% increase, so we would have been back to the 2020 levels. So the cheapest option that we have is with Florida Blue. We still are recommending a gap to insurance to help fill in on the deductible level because the deductible is rather high. But Maureen can go into any specific details or any questions that you may have that were not addressed either in the memo or that you'd just like to hear out loud. She might be a little bit better to walk you through any of the items within the plan.
You want her to?
Maureen, do you want to say any few words before anybody?
Sure. Yeah, really where we're at is the small group market is a difficult place to be because usually what happens when we get a high renewal like we did with AvMed only in for a year, not, they don't even have a full year of our group experience. But in the small group market, they don't even look at that. So there is absolutely no negotiating and going back to the current carrier like you would in a large group setting. So we're in the unfortunate situation of having to change carriers, which is difficult on the employer, it's difficult on the employee, but it's really the only way we can manage our costs going forward is bidding out the plan, looking at all the insurance carriers, and unfortunately changing every several years. The level funding is great for small group, except for the fact that the insurance carriers will not quote on a municipality, a small group municipality on a self-funded or a level funded basis. So we are at the best possible place we can be for both the village and the employees. And if you want me to go through any of the calculations or the rates, the carriers that we looked at, but basically where we're at is Blue Cross is by far and away the lowest option and the best benefits and network compared to all the carriers that we've looked at this year.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
We were given all that information, so we have that. Thank you.
Sure.
We're available for any questions from the commission.
Any more discussion or questions from the commission?
Yeah, I have a couple of things if no one else has anything. So thanks for joining us again. This is the third time I've gone through this with you, and every time I feel a little more knowledgeable when you explain.
Sure, my pleasure.
Yeah. So I have a question on page 5. It's comparing its benefit changes for plan year 2022, comparing AvMed to Florida Blue, the new HMO. Third line down, it says per admission inpatient copay. Last year, well, currently it varies per deductible. And for the new plan, it says NA. Can you explain why it says NA? I just want to make sure that our staff is not going to not be covered in some way there.
Yeah, the difference between Blue Cross in AvMed is AvMed had a copay after the deductible, and now we have a 20% co-insurance after deductible. So there are no copays post-deductible. It's a co-insurance. In other words, the employee will pay 20%, the employer will pay, the insurance carrier will pay 80%.
Okay, so it's not that it doesn't exist, it's just been shifted elsewhere and covered.
Correct. It's
in
a
way.
different, it's insurance lingo, really. One is a
Okay.
copay, one is co-insurance.
Okay, want to make sure staff wasn't left hanging on that. So Mario, this increase will be effective June 1, so it's going to impact our budget for 4 months of this fiscal year. Have we accommodated for that?
Yes, and it kind of carries from 1 year over to the next. We also, when doing the budget, it's broken down per employee. So when we do the budget, we always recognize that there's going to be several months where there's a potential for it being a little bit higher. So we already account for that when it's coming before you for the budget.
And it hits every department depending on where those employees are. And so next year, when we do the budget for next year, we'll anticipate that this could likely happen again and sort of have that
Correct.
pre-planned
All of
for
this-
us.
Correct. All of this is the increase is being absorbed within the budget that we've already approved last September.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Is there any other commission discussion? Motion was made by Commissioner Samaria, seconded by Commissioner Hammelberg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's carried.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
Resolution-
Have a great night.
Thank you, same to you.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Resolution 2022-21. Ed,
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, waiving the village's competitive bidding procedures pursuant to Section 2-139 of the village's Code of Ordinances, and authorizing the village manager to purchase software licenses from Bluebeam Inc., the sole plan review software compatible with OpenGov, in an amount not to exceed $5,476, authorizing the village manager to enter into 2 licensing agreements with Bluebeam Inc., providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2022-21, authorizing to purchase software licenses for Blue Arm Plan Review software and waive competitive bidding.
okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Any discussion from the commissioners?
Madam Mayor, if I may, real quick, to introduce the item,
I'm sorry.
if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Bluebeam software is a software that is used to do plan reviews. As we're moving to an electronic permitting process, plans would be submitted in a PDF format. What this software allows the plan reviewers to do is not only mark up the plans, but it tracks, and it also allows the official seal for each of the planners to be put onto the plans. This is the only software that is compatible with OpenGov. As I mentioned last month during the budget amendment, it's not something that came to my mind when talking to OpenGov. I can't say that they didn't tell me because I don't remember even writing something down. They may have, but I just kind of glanced over it. So that's why it wasn't previously budgeted. We just passed the second budget amendment. Here you see the breakdown of what the costs are. So you have the license for the seats, right? So you need to buy one for each member that's going to be using it. So we have 2 licenses for the village staff, one for the clerk and one for public works. And then you have the license for each individual section or industry, plumbing, mechanical, building, electrical. So that total 7, that's a one-time cost of $24.43. We then have a maintenance annual subscription fee, which is $693 for all 7 licenses. What that does is every year that the software is updated to meet the new requirements and all those kind of things that are needed for the building department, when that shifts over, our software automatically updates to the latest version at no additional cost. So that's what the $693 is. Instead of buying $24.43 every year, the maintenance just allows for the regular update. And then you have the Studio Prime annual subscription fee, which is what allows that's a subscription fee that allows OpenGov and Bluebeam to work together and interact together. So that's the breakdown of the 3 costs. So this year it's $54.76. Next year, the only cost, which will be part of the budget, would be for just shy or just over $3,000 for the 2 annual subscription fees.
Thank you. Commissioner discussion?
Anybody? I have a couple of things if no one else.
I just have the money for this comes out of the building department, right? So
Correct.
it Doesn't affect our.
No, sir, it doesn't. It comes out of the building.
So it's basically rolled into the building fees, or it will be rolled into the building fees.
It's all woven into
That
it,
makes
correct?
sense. Right, that's fine.
Okay, so Mario, I'm going to try to be cheap here. Is it, this is kind of a silly question. These seats, as you call them, these 7 seats that you purchased, 2 for the village and 5 for the outside firm, can any of those seats be shared among the trades? Do they each have to have their own?
They each need to have their own.
And if we don't, just so everyone understands, if we don't get this, what that means is plans could not be marked up digitally. Is that what this means? This is the
Correct.
software
It will
that
have to be
allowed
every-
everyone to communicate with notes on the PDFs of the plans.
Correct. If not, we would have to print everything out and maintain the hectic chaos that we have right now. Is that?
You enjoy the hectic chaos. You want us?
No, I do
enjoy it?
not. I do not
Okay,
enjoy
so
any.
This allows us to really fully handle this all digitally.
Correct.
Okay.
Which also makes it easier for the residents and the contractors, as they no
Sure.
longer have to print the large plans and everything
Sure.
that goes into it.
Sure, sure.
And they don't need to come in to discuss it. They can send it by email and.
That is the,
get
correct.
things
That is the
back
part of
going.
OpenGov, which will allow for comments to go between the plan reviewers, the applicant. Via there, the applicants can just check on the status to see where it's at. They can see what the actual comments are and how to respond and all that. So that's the OpenGov part. The Bluebeam part is where the plan reviewer will say, this beam is in the wrong location. It's need to shift over here and do the markups on the actual plans themselves.
But to be clear, residents can see this in their file, but they can't make notes themselves.
Correct.
Okay. 2 quick things I just want to point out. I read all the fine print in the contract. There, for storage, it says there's unlimited storage space, but we are limited on the number of sheets that can be shared. And after that limit, then they start charging you for additional sheets. We're going into this blind, never having used it before. So we just need to be mindful of how, I have no idea if whatever limit in there is something the Village of Biscayne Park would reach, but just want to be mindful of that. And then in section C and D, it says that files can be deleted automatically and that it's up to the village to make sure everything is backed up properly. There's other things, they kind of send you an email and they warn you it's going to happen, but we need to make sure that there is some kind of someone is responsible for backing these things up so we don't risk losing any of these files. That would be terrible if we went digital and then started losing stuff because we weren't backing stuff up. Just wanted to point those 2 things out, but I think this is great. Thanks.
Commissioner Samaria, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, the motion was made by Commissioner Samaria, seconded by Vice Mayor Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passed. Resolution 2022-24.
Mayor, before I do that, may I respectfully suggest that we take the appointments to the boards out of order so that these fine people can go home?
Oh, I think that's
Great
I
idea.
was hoping.
I think these fine people are enjoying this.
Okay, just a second.
It's, that would be 11, F as in Frank.
Will be 11F.
Right.
2022-25, appointment to the Code Board.
Resolution, we took a collection up, actually. They paid me to do that. A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection, appointment, and term of office of the board members to the Code Compliance Board, providing for an effective date.
I'd like to make a motion that because there are fewer applicants than there are seats on the board, that we approve everyone with one vote unanimously.
I second that. All agree?
Highway?
Commissioner Samaria, do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Need to take a vote?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, it's passed.
And heads up, Ed, as you read these, I'm going to do the same thing and we're going to knock these out fast.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection, appointment, and term of office of the board members to the Planning Board, providing for an effective date.
So I'm going to make the same motion that because we have the number of applicants that we have openings on the board, that we vote them all through with one vote.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Samaria. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, approving the selection and appointment of members to the Public Art Advisory Board, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
I'm going to make a motion that we, because there are fewer applicants than there are openings on the board, that we vote them all through on one vote.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Okay, up to
A
2022.
resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection of members to the Governing Board of Directors to the Biscayne Park Foundation, Inc., providing for an effective date.
I'm going to make a motion because we have one applicant and one opening on the board that we vote her through in one vote.
Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Samaria. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed.
Thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
Didn't mean to make that sound perfunctory for you folks, but it's just a faster way for us to get through. So you sat through all of that just to hear it kind of like pass you by. Sorry about that.
We'd
Thank
love
you
to have you stay.
Thank you
Please
so much
stay,
for
please.
taking your time and putting the effort in to help us out here. We really couldn't do our job without you guys doing your job.
Okay. Resolution 2022-24. Ed?
No.
22.
11C is in Charlie.
Oh. 2022-22. Ed? All right.
Yes, ma'am. A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, awarding request for proposal number 2022-003 to Ceres Environmental Services, Inc. as the primary bidder and TFR Enterprises, Inc. as a secondary bidder, approving agreements with Ceres Environmental Services, Inc. and TFR Enterprises, Inc. for disaster debris removal and disposal service, authorizing the village manager to execute said agreements and to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'd like a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2022-22, awarding and approving RFP 2022-3 for disaster freeze and removal and this debris for service.
Second.
I'm happy to second that.
Madam Mayor.
Any discussion? Mario?
Thank you. So essentially what this contract is, when there is a declared emergency, most likely hurricanes, it doesn't just have to be hurricanes, it could be tornadoes or anything like that. But when there is a declared emergency, what this contract would do is they would be the contractor who comes in and is able to start clearing the roads, then start moving any of the damaged or downed vegetation or debris within the public right of way and only within the public right of way, move it out of the way and then to the park or move it to the Miami-Dade disposal sites. This is a requirement in order to have FEMA reimburse us. We currently have a contractor. However, looking at what we went through with Irma, I thought it was best to re-procure the services. The recommendation is to have two contractors. One, the primary, which is where we would initiate. The only time that the contract is initiated, again, is during the emergency or the disaster, and they get paid through the unassigned fund balance, which then gets reimbursed by the state through FEMA, or from FEMA through the state. If for whatever reason the primary can't do the job, hey, sorry, spread too thin, can't do it, or there's problems or anything like that, we can terminate that contract and then engage the secondary. So essentially we'll have a backup plan just in case the first does not cannot work out, as opposed to having to re-procure everything. We have that secondary contract ready to go in case we need it. Ceres is a national firm. They have a lot of work experience. Their proposal was the highest ranked. Those in the evaluation committee was our Public Works Director, Albert Dominguez, who I believe is joining us tonight as well. John Quintero, who's the projects manager and helps seize these contract for the city of Dania Beach, as well as Olga Espinosa Anderson, who's the assistant director with Miami-Dade County, who oversees these operations during hurricanes for the county. They all had very good comments with regards to Ceres and the primary TFR as well. Just to give you an overview of how the contract would work, we would have an example of a hurricane. We would go under a watch and then a warning. They would be engaged at that point. They would start getting all their subcontractors, all their vehicles and everything that they need in place for imminent landfall. Once it is cleared to go back out, and that is when the police advise us, okay, storm has passed, it's safe to go back out. Not for residents, but for our workers to get out. We do a quick assessment of the village. We need to take pictures before anything gets cut, anything gets moved. If not, FEMA will not pay us back. So if any residents are hearing me, do not go out on the street and start cutting down limbs and start cutting down brushes to clear the roadways. We will not be reimbursed for any of the dollars if that occurs, and we don't have the proof beforehand. So they start taking all the pictures as well as our monitoring contract, because there's two contracts, not only this one, but a company that monitors what this contract does as required by FEMA. That is done within the first 24 hours. They are to clear one side of the street on every road within the village. That way we can get around. Then from there, they move everything over within the public right of way. They continue cutting things up. They put it on the trucks. They either take it to the park, which is our designated site for debris management and all that, or they take it to Miami-Dade County disposal. There's a whole ticket system, and it's all this complicated brouhaha stuff that the other company does. I'm very impressed with how they have it all, but it's a lot. So they go through, it all gets measured, it all gets weighed, we get a ticket. Those tickets, along with the pictures and everything that's done by this company and the monitoring company, gets sent to FEMA, and that's what gets reimbursed. So we hope that within 10 days, the village and the public right-of-way at least is now clear, and it is either at the park being further cut down, or it has been moved over to Miami-Dade County. Of course, I say we hope, because depending on the amount of vegetation, that could end up delaying stuff. Our goal is 10 days. But Irma, as we know, there were cities that were still cutting up vegetation 3 months after. So it really kind of depends, and we have a lot of vegetation within the village. But again, this is only for public right-of-way. This is not going to go into people's private property to move their trees or anything like that. So, and everything gets pictured. So if all of a sudden, hey, you don't have mango trees in your public right of way, why do we see mango debris within the truck laying on top of the truck? Oh, it came from someone's house. Well, now that whole truck might not be reimbursed. So it's very specific, with very specific documentation.
Outside of this particular thing, but have we discussed or thought of a staging area other than the park if it's needed at this stage?
The park is definitely our primary. In the past, they've used the area right out here by Village Hall.
And I understand that that was not. a
No,
place
the other,
to put it.
the only other places that we'll be able to put it is in the medians. But then that starts creating overflow into the streets and everything again. So the park is realistically the only place that we can store that. But again, with that, the caveat is there's a high possibility that that will be moved from the public right away. If we have all the pictures and everything and it's ready to go straight into the truck, straight to Miami-Dade disposal. And it might not even have to go there. So it just kind of depends on how the operations is and what's the easiest and fastest way to do it. It might be faster just to move everything to the park, get it all off of our streets, and then from there, exactly. So there will be an operational plan that will be put in place once we know exactly what kind of potential damage we have.
But we won't be putting anything here.
No, and when I submit the certification to the county, the only one I put was the park. So if we're putting stuff here, we're doing it without the county approval because that has to be approved by the county.
Now, on the other hand, you just said that this was only for debris in the right of way, not for residence debris.
Mhm.
What is going to happen with residence debris? Because that's certainly going to overwhelm our great waste system.
Absolutely. Residents in these cases will have to find accommodations, and usually the county has those areas where they can dispose of debris.
Because in the past, whoever hauls away the village debris is hauled away from ours.
Which is why there were problems getting reimbursement, and it took us more than 4 years to get reimbursed.
So
You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to.
Isn't there something in our Great Waste contract about debris removal after storms?
Correct. There is, but that's to assist in the disposal of debris from roadways and stuff like that, not for private residents.
Well, I think we need to put out an email to the residents before hurricane season, reminding them to trim their trees, which I did last month. But
We'll be putting like we
they
did
need
last
to
year.
understand that the city's not going to be collecting the way the city's collected for all the other hurricanes. They're not going to come take away all our stuff and make it go away. I'll tell you, I thank God they did after Hurricane Wilma, because I lost the whole house, and that was like one less thing I had to deal with besides my ceiling, my roof, my walls, my electric, my plumbing, and everything else that I lost.
As part of the workshop that we'll be holding again this year prior to hurricane season. We had it last year, and resident Brian from Code McNaldy, thank you. He put in and was able to talk about the forecasting for the season, and also we'll be doing and partnering with him as well as police and public works again this year.
Can I ask you a quick question, Mario? So I understand when this all kicks in, and you have a plan A and a plan B, which is great. I'm not certain we had that before. So you said something, and I didn't write down what you said, but I want to make sure I understand. Is plan B only if plan A says, no, we're not available, or if plan A is overwhelmed and they need help and you need a backup guy to come in, or if plan A doesn't come through and you're dissatisfied with their work, then you cancel them and move on to plan B?
Both contracts cannot be active at the same time. So plan A, whether they're not available or we don't want them anymore, we would
stop it,
stop the contract, terminate for cause or convenience or whatever the case may be. And then we would activate the Plan B with TFR.
Okay. So if you're not happy with what's going on, you can terminate and move on to another option. And are both of these people required to respond when you say we need you?
Within a certain amount of time. I mean,
they can't say, no, we're too busy to honor the contract.
So you can't, and I'm trying to understand your scenario. If we're in the middle of it, right, there's obviously opportunities for them. If there's something going on with the contractor, there's opportunities for them to cure whatever that problem is and fix it and finalize. Again, we're hoping to have everything done within 10 days.
Right.
So that comes down to what's going to be in the best interest. Let's fight through it. Let's make sure that we have the right documentation. And then when everything is said and done, hey, we didn't like how this worked out. I think we'll terminate from here and we'll start the new contract with somebody else. So after that, but there's got to be something catastrophic for in the middle of them just to pick up their toys and go home.
I understand, but I want to make sure we're not left high and dry at all. So if you call Plan A and can they say we're too busy, we can't do it, and Plan B says the same thing, and all of a sudden we have nobody?
No.
They're required to respond.
They're required, yeah.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Okay, and one other question, Mario.
Yes, ma'am.
If my trees that are on my property fall over and block the right of way and the swale areas, will the city take them down, or is that my responsibility? 'Cause
We're supposed to clear the public right away.
Okay, so you would, okay. Well, I usually clean them up anyways, but that's all right.
But please don't, if you're going to do something, please don't do anything until after we take all the pictures and we do everything and the contractor gets in. So again, immediately after a storm, residents should not go out, start using chainsaws, machetes, or anything to clear. We need to go around to that extent. I am going to be looking within my purchasing purview to, and I'm working with Chief to look at drone, because that's going to be the fastest way to get a video and pictures of the village right after. We still need ground level pictures, but we'll have a backup of an aerial that we can point to. And when they go, well, show me this, we can just go through the video and there it is.
I must
with that, there's
confess,
going to be.
Our 116th Street team cleared our block and 10th Avenue all the way down to 121st Street for police and emergency services after Irma.
Thank you.
We had
Please don't. do it
5 of
again.
us, we were stinkers about it. Nick yelled at us and told us to get back in our houses, but we still did it.
You have any questions?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Passed. Resolution 2022-23.
The resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, awarding request for proposal number 2022-004 to GenCon Partners, Inc. for design build services for Phase 1A drainage and roadway improvements in an amount not to exceed $1,078,590.70, which includes a 10% contingency of $98,053.70, authorizing the village manager to negotiate and enter into an agreement with GenCon Partners, Inc., authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement in substantially the form attached hereto as Exhibit A, and expend budgeted funds on behalf of the village and providing for an effective date.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2022-23 awarding RFP 2022-004 design build service for Phase 1A drainage and road improvements for approving an agreement with the GenCon.
Second on that?
I'll second it for discussion.
Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Mario.
Thank you. This is long overdue. thank you for all the support, not only from community and from the dais here. I also wanted to point out Albert Dominguez is on Zoom with us as well. So if there's any technical questions, we can get into it with him and he can help clarify. And also thank you to our attorneys who have really helped put this together. I think this is maybe the first design build that this village has ever done. Essentially, CITT, we came out of the 10-year audit and there was almost $400,000 to $500,000 worth of funds that the village had not used in that time frame. They were going to reclaim that money and take it back to the county. Coming on board on December 1st, 2020, speaking with their executive director and our county commissioner, they said, we know Mario, let's give him a shot to see where everything is. We were able to finish the CITT audit, but they needed to see that we were going to use that money. This is a huge chunk of how that money is being going to be used. They approved this project. We used part of the CITT money to come up with a concept plan, which if you're looking at a plan, a finalized plan that you can use to either build a house or anything like that, let's say that that's 100% done. The concept level is essentially 30% done, okay? So with that, what we did is we put an RFP out so that we can have someone finish the remaining 70% and then get all the permits and then start construction. We used 5 locations based on the stormwater management plan, master plan from 2016 that the village had done and observations that we saw in November of 2020 when we had the several, I think there was a 5-year rainstorm and then there was a tropical storm and all that kind of stuff. So we put that out on the market. We had one bidder come back. Prices have gone significantly up since we initially did the estimates. Jose began doing the estimates, so we have the market where we are. Now, Katie had asked during the public comment, hey, work with North Miami. North Miami is aware of the project. They have the plans. They're aware that we were going to bid as an RFP. They said, thank you. They'll review. And if they have any concerns or anything, they'll get back to us. They have not. They are looking to begin potential plans for on 121 years from now, though. So we're not in sync, and I'm just not going to wait. Another idea is, well, if you're going to have to tear up the road, what if the county comes in to do some other infrastructure work? That could be years away as well. And I'm just not willing to wait another 4, 5, 6, 10 years before we do anything, because then we lose the county money from CITT and nothing gets done here, which is already where nothing's been done for decades. So so we're moving forward with these 5 locations. In total, the $1 million plus has the 10% contingency fee because there's always incidentals and things that could happen or not happen. Also, there is a potential during design to do some value engineering. So there could be some reduction in that as well. All of these things come into play back and forth. Each of the evaluators that were on here, which was, again, Albert Dominguez, our Public Works Director, Jose Perez, City of Miami Beach Capital Projects Coordinator. He was formerly a Public Works Director, but I think he's slowing down as he's getting closer towards retirement. Mike Alvarez also works in the utility compliance officer, but he does most of the contracting work for Bal Harbor when it comes to these type of things. Their biggest comment was, man, we really would have preferred to see 100% design plans completed. So would I. We don't have the time, nor did we have the resources. So we put it all together So instead of making this project a 2 or 3 year project, we're combining it so that we can get it done in a year and a half, basically. The way, just to give you an example, even if the commission approves this tonight, that doesn't mean construction starts tomorrow. It's going to be, based on their proposal, they're looking at about 130 business days for design and permitting. So we're still talking a good chunk, about, I think that's like 6 or 7 months of work that they need to do. There was some preliminary geotechnical exploration and work that they need. However, they'll have to go and finalize all of that within their design. They'll also have to get everything approved by Durham and the county to make sure that that is meeting all the requirements that they have for the French drain system. Construction is a lot faster because it's a simple, essentially it's a simple design. It is putting pipe that has holes in the grounds, that it all flows into an inlet, and basically it holds some of the capacity of that flood water from the street within the pipe, and then it percolates into the ground. It's not going to be as fast as it used to be because the water table in Biscayne Park over years is much different than it was 20 years ago. The water is essentially anywhere between 2 to 4 feet below ground level. So when we have flooding on the street, the ground is already saturated. But what this system does is it helps move some of that water from the street level down below the street level. It won't completely solve flooding in these areas, but it will help better manage these areas. And with that, obviously, the road gets repaved as well. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone on this project. The way that the project is anticipated to be funded, we have, again, like I mentioned, the CITT rollover funds. We also have state appropriation funds that have been approved by the legislation, thanks to the help of David Cassert, our lobbyist, and several other legislators that have helped. I want to mention Senator Anna Maria. I believe she was from the Doral area. She actually picked up the cause for us. The House cut the budget that we requested of $350,000 down to $175,000. But she was able to negotiate it back up to the $350,000 on the Senate side, and that is what is currently in front of the governor. The governor, all intents and purposes, we've done everything we possibly can. We've communicated with his staff, we've communicated with Lieutenant Governor's staff, his chief of staff, deputy chiefs of staff, the deputy of the deputy chief of staff. We've talked to the Lieutenant Governor's chief of staff, and the department people who are regulating the environmental and the infrastructure and stuff like that. They're aware of the concern. They've seen the pictures. So far, it hasn't been cut, which is a good sign. However, the budget doesn't take effect until July 1st. And so his signature can go, or veto can go into June, kind of up to him when the final presentation of the budget is given to him. And then he has X amount of days from that moment to sign off or veto line items. So we're looking at CITT rollover. We're looking at state up to $350,000 from state appropriations. All good intentions so far because it's exactly how they've always wanted. Environmental, tied to water, storm drain. It's all in the same boat of what they want to see. And then part of the audit response was that CITT would not release funds for fiscal year 2021 or 21-22 until we can provide an invoice that shows A, that all the rollover funds have been expended, and B, that we're expending those years. So we got 2 additional years that of funds that have not been released to Biscayne Park. I've had a conversation with CITT and they are open. They didn't give me a final yes, but they are open that should the contract pass, we'll be able to show and the immediate allocation so that once the CITT rollover funds are expended, which would be rather quickly, then instead of presenting an invoice that they will reimburse us once we pay, they'll release those years outright to us so that we can continue to pay and not have a backlog on the invoicing. So everything is kind of pointing in the right direction, fingers crossed. I also noticed that we have the vendor here with us from Genco Partners. I believe his name is Manny Rodriguez. Haven't been able to talk to him until right now, so congratulations. But if anybody has any questions here on the dais, both myself and Albert are available for to answer any of your questions.
Any questions?
My question
Commissioner
would,
Hammelberg?
hi, my question would be, and thank you, Mario, for all your hard work, because we have had flooding issues in this village for more than 20 years. I just showed Shantae a picture out my front window of the flood that went from my street across and flooded the entire neighbor's front yard and backyard, and they were canoeing up and down the street. So, and that was 20 years ago. This is not new. It happens episodically, and it's something that's going to happen more frequently. My question is trying to get North Miami on board. Is there anything that's unethical or illegal with any of us trying to reach out to commissioners in North Miami to see if we can get them to uphold their end or do something on their end of 121st Street?
There is nothing on this project that requires North Miami. Everything is within our boundaries.
Right.
The system in North Miami where our project would be is identical to what we have. They basically have a hole in the ground. They don't have an active pump station on 121st Street or anything of that sort. So these type of projects are not just, yeah, we can just come in and all of a sudden give you a few $1,000s to put in. These are going to be several hundred thousands. I think on 121st Street, if I'm not mistaken, and if you just give me 1 second, 121st. Yeah. We initially thought that the price would be close to, for both, almost $200,000. But we're actually approaching $300,000 for 121st and 11th Avenue. So even if North Miami was saying, yes, we want to do something on 121st, and I'm not saying that they don't, there's no budget for them to do something like that. They have no plans. When we submitted their plans to them.
My question to you is, could I chit chat with the person I met who's on the North Miami Commission and see if we could
I
get
will
any
defer
interest on that?
to our lawyers to be able to clarify what's allowed and not allowed in that kind of capacity.
There's nothing prohibiting you from doing that, Commissioner.
Okay. I will pursue that very nicely. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of things if you don't mind. So Mario, we had one bidder on this. It's unfortunate we didn't get more to pick from. And I understand they're here in the room, so it's always kind of awkward to talk about people when they're in the room. But so Mario, what is your level of confidence in the proposal that you were given that you didn't have another one to compare it to? Are you feeling good about this?
I always like competition, but I can understand in today's market where there is still a lot of work and not there's not a shortfall of work for all these companies.
Mm-hmm.
This might not be a massive job. I'm not going to speak for the vendor, but I assume that they're looking at this as this can be a very easy in and out job where we can our contractors and our crew can be out of there in essentially 2 months for everything. So it could be very beneficial for them and
Future work for them as well.
Correct. Yeah, I feel confident looking at their proposal. The evaluators, they didn't have anything wrong to say about the vendor. Their preference was we'd prefer to see 100% plans and then have them bid on that. But that's not the reality that we are in. And I I didn't feel comfortable knowing, forget about not being able to do the infrastructure work for years. And that's a huge aspect of this. Forget about that though. The fact that the county was going to reclaim over $600,000 for me was an even bigger import to of I need to get a contract and I need to make sure that this is done correctly. Now, supplemental, we're going to put out another RFP for just designing of the next phase using the federal monies. This contract.
I'm sorry, when you say the next phase, you mean separate from these 5
Correct.
projects? The next, okay.
So we're able to start moving forward. We can't use this contract because this contract wouldn't meet federal guidelines that ARPA would because we're using federal monies would. And I don't believe, if I remember correctly, CITT can be used to match state funds for grants or something like that, but not federal funds.
Okay.
Right. So I'm purposely keeping all those monies separately. For the fact of these 5, yeah, I feel comfortable that this can get the job done. I think there's provisions within the agreement that protect us so that, again, design comes first. So we'll.
For all 5.
Correct.
Okay.
So we'll have that. We'll have everything on hand. If in the middle of construction on the first end, there's some kind of catastrophe, and again, I don't foresee that, then there's always a way for, hey, you guys got to cure this. If they can't cure it, then it's an option for us to walk away. Or if after that first street gets done, it was supposed to be done in 2 weeks, but it took 3 months. Hey, we're going to stop construction here. We're going to terminate for convenience and we can re-procure the construction.
Okay, so
I
that
don't think
leads to
that's
my-
going to happen, but we have those protections in place.
That leads to my next question. So if that scenario that you just described were to happen, we own those designs. If the
course.
designs were done and something went sideways and you moved on, we have the designs and you could move forward with someone just to build based on the designs.
Correct.
Awesome. So you don't feel like it's necessary for us to put this out to bid again?
No.
Okay. And can you tell us the order of that you think all the designs going to get done first? Will all the designs have to be complete before any of the construction can start? Or will they start on designs and while the design, I can imagine they're departmentalized, can they get a design done that's approved and they move on to the next design? In the meantime, they can come in and start building.
It's going to really depend on the permitting process and what's easier to do. We haven't sat down with the company and we haven't right now in their initial proposal, they're proposing all of the design prior to construction startup. One of the things that you got to be careful when you can do the scenario in which you start construction while design is being completed on different areas, right?
So different drains altogether.
Correct. So if, for example, my number one priority to start off is going to be 121st and 11th Avenue.
Perfect.
So let's say, hey, design is complete. We can get those permits. Let's start construction while we finish design on 115th Street. That scenario is possible. However, okay, what could end up happening is you're done with construction, you're not done with design, then you're paying for remobilization.
So there's an economy of scale if these things are happening simultaneously.
Exactly. So
Understood. So you might be able to do that and you may not.
Exactly. So we have everything in place so that if it's only going to be one project at a time, we can operate that way. However, we're going to try to limit it so that we can save the village as much money as we possibly can, because that's only going to help us in the future
More
for the
work
other
done.
project.
I understand. Okay, so it sounds like you have thought this out. I'm very happy with this. And when we hired you, Mario, this was one of your top priorities, and it was a big one, starting with CITT. So this is great. I appreciate all your work on this.
Are there any other questions for Mario or for Genco? Any questions?
No.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Samaria, it was seconded by Commissioner Hammelberg. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passed. 2022-24.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the village manager to execute a purchase order with Toshiba American Business Solutions, Inc. to lease a multifunctional device, printer, copier, scanner in the amount of $6,094.56. I'm sorry, $6,694.56 over a 48-month term, plus cost for monthly overages charged on a per-page rate, utilizing the prices, terms, and conditions of the State of Florida Department of Management Services NASPO agreement attached here to is Exhibit A, authorizing the village manager to do all things necessary to effectuate this resolution, providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
I make a, make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-24, authorizing leasing Toshiba American Business Solutions, Inc.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just a quick recap, our lease for the Village Hall's printer, copier, faxer, scanner, all of the above, is actually out of date, and the company can no longer continue to extend the term. So the recommendation is to use the state contract, which is actually a little bit cheaper than what we're paying. It's only $7,000 over 48 months, but we're able to get a newer machine at a lower cost. I apologize that the spreadsheet, the pricing sheet did not upload properly when I attached the Excel spreadsheet. So I did print everything out, and I did
Need a better scanner.
We need, it was just a direct link from, maybe it's the laptop. I did update a PDF version onto the agenda, and I printed it out for everybody here as well. And I emailed it to you as well, so that you can see what those are. It comes out to about $139 a month, which is very affordable and not an issue at all.
I have a quick comment, Jenny, if I may. So my only comment about this, it's easy, is our non-discrimination language, where we add non-discrimination language about gender identity and sexual orientation was not included in the contract that we inherited. Valerie, when I asked her about this, she added it to the, I guess it's the invoice or whatever it is. She added language to that effect at the bottom and asked Mario if he could get that approved by them. So I'm hoping we can get that done, because that language is important and should always be included in our contract.
There a problem with that? No problem. Okay, are there any other questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Old business was put over till the June meeting. Discussion on new business, advisory board ethics training to draft an ordinance requiring all members of the village boards to have yearly ethics training conducted by Miami-Dade Ethics Commission.
Yeah, so the idea here is that, we're required to do certain things on a yearly basis. And, we're held to certain standards, and so are the people that serve on our boards. A lot of them are new to public office, and, I'm still learning. I still get yelled at every once in a while that I do. So I understand the importance of this kind of training. And also on a yearly basis, some things may change. There may be some additions, there may be some deletions. So I think it's very important that for our board members to also receive this training on a yearly basis, if not for anything other than to, keep them from getting themselves into any kind of trouble. So I think that it would benefit them, and it would also benefit the village that they receive this training. This is a once a year thing, couple of hours out of the year, and I don't think it's something that, I think it's something that is going to benefit everybody.
Is anybody opposed to this?
Well, I'm not opposed, but I have a couple of things I want to discuss, but I always tend to go first. So if somebody else wants to go first.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Kennedy.
Commissioner Samaria, do you have anything
Commissioner
to say?
Kennedy.
You're in favor of it? Right.
Well, the only question I have is, does Dade County and or the state require ethics training? Because if they do it, then why are we?
The state nor the county require it of municipal boards. Does not.
Then I'm in favor of this.
Okay, I would,
They don't require it, but they're still held to
The
ethical.
standard and
we always had the ethics training, but it wasn't mandatory but our former boards used to go. But now it's going to be mandatory.
I would add that the county does require its own county boards
yeah.
to do the training. It just doesn't require cities to do it.
You know, from sitting in on some of the board meetings, some of the boards seem to know it, some of the boards don't seem to know it, and the members, and I think it's important. My only concern is there a way we can do some of this by a video recorded thing so people could do it on their own time frame and just, just, I don't know how you.
Can I piggyback on that thought?
Decide how to do it. I know years ago, they had a whole thing with all the boards here with ethics coming in, I think, Jose.
But the point is that if we want to, it's not required of our boards, and if we want to make it a requirement, it has to be in the form of an ordinance. It actually has to be in the form of 2 ordinances, doesn't it, Valerie? Because the boards are handled in different parts of the code, so we have to have 2 separate ordinances for this. Is that correct?
Yes, because planning and the code enforcement appears in a different chapter.
Okay. Can I piggyback on something you just said, Judy? I have a couple of things I want to say about this. So first, I agree because I'm at board meetings where I am observing newer members of the board. I don't want to sit here on public record and say they're violating sunshine, but I'm watching them and it's clear that they may not understand exactly how this is intended to work. So yes, I think they need to get some training. Yes, Valerie.
Mario, do you have anything to say?
Instead of
No,
under the chapter for boards and committees, that
Mhm.
would just be a separate new chapter.
Oh, and that way it could be one ordinance.
Then we can do it.
Okay.
one, applicable to all boards. to reduce
Okay.
the number of ordinances.
Okay, I just want to, but I want to make another couple of points. So first of all, just so we're clear, and Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I have this right. If a board member were to violate some ethical thing, or let's just say sunshine, if a board member were to violate sunshine, whether we had provided that training for them or not, they're required to follow sunshine. The village doesn't get in trouble. The individual person gets in trouble.
Correct.
Okay, so the village is not in any risk here of getting in trouble. We're doing this to protect the individual peoples. So I just want everyone to be clear that it's not like the village is in jeopardy here in any way. The individuals are who are on the boards, but there are folks and we need to help take care of them. Of course it does. Of course it does. Yeah, but it's not like we're gonna have a violation. The person is. Okay, before I forget, Shantae, that handbook is fabulous. So thank you for putting that together. Nicely done on that. So just to remember, if we make an ordinance, if we move forward with this as an ordinance, if we ever want to change it or stop it altogether, that would require another ordinance. As an ordinance take time and money. So just remember, if we do move forward with this, it requires another ordinance if we ever want to touch it for some reason. And that would include, Valerie, for example, if we created another board, would these boards all be named in there? If we created another board, do we have to touch this ordinance or would it just sort of sweep them all up together?
We think we'll be able to do it under one chapter.
Just kind of lump them
general
all in together?
applicability, So it
Okay.
would not require more than one.
Okay. Here, this might be a compromise. The idea of having them do it live every year is a lot. Just so everyone's clear, I don't do it every year. I'm not required to. I watch a video. So they send me a video link of a Zoom meeting that was recorded, I don't know how long ago. It's a Zoom meeting with there's nothing even to look at. And I sit there at my computer and I do it. And for 4 hours, I sit in front of my computer and I listen to someone training someone else about this. I can't ask questions. It's just, and I would think the commissioners would be held at the highest standard. So that's what we have to do. at minimum, and that's what I did this year. I think I did it the same way last year as well. So if there were an easier option for boards, especially the non-quasi judicial boards, I'd be in favor of that. Or maybe something like having each board member having to sit through it live one time, and then in subsequent years, when they're required to do it again, to allow them to do it virtually or by the same kind of video that we watch, but having them do it every single year seems like a lot. And I was thinking it might be as simple as we decide every year at the same month, we provide one for the village, and anyone who's new and hasn't sat through one live ever, or hasn't sat through a live one for X number of years, is required to do it again. Otherwise, they can do the video thing. I just don't want to overburden them, but I completely agree that this needs to be tightened up, and we need to help them protect themselves from getting in trouble.
Okay, I think that there'll be no problem with ethics and our manager to just decide how it's going to be done.
Well, I think we have to
Mario?
decide that, because if we're gonna decide to put it in an ordinance, then we have to decide what it's gonna be, don't we?
We'll have to come back to the commission, and I would recommend allow the attorney and myself to work with Miami-Dade Ethics to see if they even do the video, because the video you're talking about was done by Florida League of Cities for the state ethics requirement.
Right.
There's a county component to it. But when we reached out, and Shantae, correct me if I'm wrong, when we reached out to Miami-Dade Ethics and we said, hey, we had a couple of our board members that watched the video, they said, okay, then, you know, we're good. So I don't know if Miami-Dade County Ethics Commission has a video like that. So we can definitely reach out to them, see what's available, and then in the first reading, come back with whatever option would be easier to do for the boards.
So just so I'm clear, I'm sorry. No, finish. The county requirement that they would, the requirement by the county is the same as our county requirement. Is that correct? So there's a county component, because I watched this state thing, but I was told by Jose that fulfilled my county requirement as well. And is that county requirement what the boards are required to, is that the standard they're required to meet? I watched one 4-hour video and I was told it made me compliant with the state and the county. And if a part of that is what satisfied me for the county, my question is the same satisfaction that the boards would have to provide? Meet.
I just for your information, I've done live training for each of the 2 sessions I've done. So they were Zoom, but they were live on Zoom.
I did one live in person downtown,
And ethics will work on that, and you'll do an ordinance for the next.
Yeah, we'll confer with Jose Arroyo, the director of the Commission on Ethics, to get some guidance.
Just for the record, I don't think that once a year, 4 hours of ethics training is a burden to anyone, unless we want to really set the bar really low. I say let's set the bar really high, and I just think it's really important. So.
And I would also add that when Jose Arroyo does give these trainings, actually recently Ronnie and I participated in one. It's not actually 4 hours in length. He offers them to municipalities throughout the county, at your convenience. And then I think it was like 2.5 hours maybe. And it was very interactive. It allowed you opportunity to have any, answer questions you had about, the obligations for sunshine, ethics, all of those things. So
We
it's not even 4 hours.
we tried to get him here twice this year. The first time was primarily canceled because they had an outbreak of COVID at the Miami-Dade ethics office. But for that session, I think it was only 2 people had confirmed that they would attend. We tried to get it for this past Saturday as well, and we had less than 10 people confirmed that they would attend as well. So we have tried to bring Jose in a couple times this year.
Okay, can we go on to village traffic and road safety? Mario, would you like to discuss that, please?
This is Vice Mayor Kennedy's item.
Okay, so I'll introduce it quickly and then we can have a discussion. So this is a discussion. I'm not asking us to accomplish very much tonight, and it's regarding traffic and road safety. So even in the few years that I've lived here a little more than 6 years now, I'm seeing a market increase in traffic and related issues here in the village. I'm an avid walker. I walk a lot in the village usually in the morning, kind of pre-rush hour time. And I experience a lot of issues on the road as a pedestrian. And I must say, among the complaints that I get from village residents, the traffic concerns are very high near the top of the list, if not at the very tippy top of the list. We have a lot of people out there on bikes and people with strollers and joggers and walkers, and lots of people headed to the rec center all the time. And our streets don't feel safe to me sometimes. And I have had lots of near misses and some serious issues. When Biscayne Park was laid out, going on 100 years ago, this part of Miami-Dade County was probably, empty. And it has changed a lot over the years. Biscayne Park has no destination unless you live here. So the only place you go in Biscayne Park is your home. There is no commercial enterprise to visit. There's nothing but one church and some homes. And we have become a cut-through community, a pass-through community for people going east-west through us to get points west mainly, I think, or west-east going home, and north-south as well. We have one county road, one state road. The rest of the roads are ours. Traffic has become a very serious problem. For those of you who may not be aware, who are listening, there are several very large developments in North Miami that are approved. Ground has not been broken on them, but they are approved, and they will be happening, and they will be introducing many, many hundreds of new dwelling units just outside our northern border. And that is just the potential for that many more vehicles to be using our streets, not to come to Biscayne Park, but merely to pass through Biscayne Park to get somewhere else. And I don't feel our streets are safe enough, and I don't feel this village has, no criticism to anyone sitting up here, but I don't think that this village has done enough to address it. So what I'm not asking for us to do tonight is throw out a million ideas as to what should be done. I don't think any of us is in a position to say that speed humps are the solution, or stop signs are the solution, or gating us, or mazing us, or more patrolling, that any of these things are the solution, because the problem is not defined yet. All I'm asking us to do is have a discussion here tonight and to agree that it's an issue, and that the residents of this village deserve us to take a good hard look at this and figure out what we can do. I hear things like, and I'm not pointing this at anyone here now, but I have heard things like, there's nothing we can do. The county won't let us do anything. If they did, it would cost more money than we have. We just can't afford to do anything. And there's this victim mentality that just kind of drives me nuts. So maybe we can't afford it. Maybe there is nothing we can do. Maybe the county won't let us do certain things. But I think this village deserves us to start the process of trying to figure out what can be done. And I think the first thing we need to do is determine exactly what the problem is, put some numbers to it, and figure out what exactly is going on, look ahead and anticipate what may be happening with this new development around us, and then decide based on that information, what can we do and what would it cost and what are our options? Is it a single option? Is it a combination of things? But it's a big problem. People love, one of the things they love most about living here is this pedestrian community that we have. And I think we need to take steps to protect it, or it's another one of these things where some of us, I've only lived here 6 years. Judy's lived here 30 years, more than 30. I forget how long you've lived here.
96, I moved here.
Okay, so she's lived here a lot longer than I have. And I'm going to guess, people who have lived here longer have told me, oh my God, Mac, it's so much worse than it used to be. And I don't want us sitting here in 10 years. I don't think I'll be in this chair in 10 years, but I don't want us living in this village in 10 years saying, oh my God, now it's even that much worse. Why have we not done anything? I think we need to define the problem and figure out what the possibilities are for us to make this better. So I'm anxious to hear what you guys say. And then I'm hoping that we can agree to simply have Mario and staff and whomever he thinks should be involved, bring us back information. So we can have this discussion again in the next month or two. You'll see I listed some discussion topics there about what kind of studies would be required from the county. It may be more than one kind of study. Are there grants available for them? What kind of options might be available for us to mitigate this problem? Who are the players who should be involved in this? Departments, people inside and outside the village. And then we can talk about what the next steps should be. So there's the topic. I think it's a big, important topic, and it's a monster to try to tackle, but I think we need to start the process, and I hope we do that tonight. Thanks.
Mayor, if I may, before the commission, when we received the item from the vice mayor, I read through some of the questions that he had towards the end of the memo. So I took the initiative to reach out to the county to see what the process even looks like. I'm not sure if Albert is still with us, but what the process even would look like for us to be able to move forward with it. So I was able to get a generic outline from the county. The county says that we would need an endorsement from Miami-Dade Fire Department, Biscayne Park and Miami-Dade Police Department, Miami-Dade County Planning and Zoning Department, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami-Dade County Transit, Florida Department of Transportation, Miami-Dade County Traffic Engineering, and depending on the streets that are being proposed to potentially close or limit the access, we would also need to get an endorsement from either Miami Shores or North Miami. If we get all of those, then it goes back to Miami-Dade Traffic, Department of Public Works and Traffic and Engineering. They then go through the engineering analysis and do the confirmation of what the study that we would have to put together, which would include traffic counts, data collection, obviously the coordinating with all of the agencies and doing all the public outreach that's needed, not only for the public, but with the other agencies as well, and the public of any of those other agencies that may be required. If they approve it after that, then it is, if approved, Biscayne Park would need either a ballot question for concurrence of 2/3 of the residents approving the plan, or hold a public hearing in lieu of concurrency. However, what was not clear when talking to the county was, does holding the public hearing mean we don't have to do the ballot vote? My interpretation is that the public hearing may replace the 2/3 concurrency, but you may still have to do the vote regardless. So that's, in a nutshell, that is the process that we would go through should the commission or the village decide, okay, we want to start closing some streets off. Not saying that is your automatic want, but just because it's one of the options, like, okay, what we've heard it, like you've said, we've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, the county won't let us. Well, what's the actual process with the county? And that's the breakdown that
You
they
just
gave me.
described a very convoluted process, and it makes it sound very scary and almost impossible to do. But if I understand, all of what you just described is about closing streets.
Correct.
Okay, no one in this room, I'd never said, let's talk about closing streets in this village. It doesn't, my item does not say, let's have a conversation about closing
You
streets.
discuss gating community.
I threw out all kinds of things. All I'm saying, if you read what it says here, it says, first we must determine how bad the problem is before we can come up with solutions.
Can I
to a
give you
problem
some
we have.
history here?
You may, but I just want to make very clear, Mario, and I respect that you did all that research and you presented it to us, but you just presented all of that very scary sounding information as it relates to one single thing that I didn't come here to request today. So I simply came here to request that we have a conversation about it and decide what information we would need so we could come back here and have the conversation about it.
All right, my history of being here for 25 years is this, and this is not the first, nor the second, nor the third, nor the 25th time that we've discussed this. If you look into shuffling traffic off of some of the inner streets, then the people on the county and the state roads, which are 6th Avenue and Griffing are going to be going ballistic. And they have a right to be, because they take the brunt of the traffic no matter what. And then if we shuffle more off of the other streets, that just dumps more on them.
So why are
So-
you discussing the
so-
downside of one
No,
specific
I'm
thing?
discussing what we've had historically going on here. We've discussed blocking some of the streets. Historically, we've discussed speed bumps, but in the past, up until a few years ago, the county would not allow us any speed bumps. Historically, we've discussed some roundabouts like North Miami has, but again, the county didn't allow that at that point in time. Historically, we've discussed making some of the roads one way. The residents were up in arms about it, except for around the park. So again, you have to get buy-in from your residents. Everybody doesn't want it in their backyard, but if it's not going to be in my backyard, then I'm going to be dumping on Art in his backyard. And so we have to be very careful about what we do, and we have to be sensitive to the people on the busier streets that still take the brunt of our traffic. I would love to put up a ton of speed bumps. I would love to add some more stop signs. But I think you have to be careful about what you're doing and where.
So let me respond.
And I'm sorry, before you do, Vice Mayor, just for a correction, the reason why I took on and did that work with the county, item number 3 in the discussion topics that you posed the question in your memo, what options are available to us in any and all of the above strategy, road closures being the number 1 listed, in order to have this type of conversation where we can start talking about what we can and cannot do, what would be needed. If we're going to include the option of a road closure, what does that mean? We've had those rumors swirling around for years that the county would never allow. So I figured I went out and I talked to the county to see what is the actual process for it.
Okay, so Judy, I was not suggesting that we do anything carelessly and that we don't take into consideration residents. And if you read what I actually wrote here, it says, tonight I'm asking the Village Commission to start a discussion on road safety, but certainly not to recommend solutions. So I honestly don't care what was done before, what was tried before, what failed before. I have no idea what they tried to do. I don't know how well they tried. I don't know why they failed. I don't know. And there's no history here that anyone can point to either. There was a traffic safety study, a traffic study done in the year 2008 that the village didn't even know about. And the village can't even find a copy of it. Former Commissioner Bob Anderson had a copy of it and he provided it to me. It was a very interesting study to read. It's now 14 years old, outdated information. But in that study, they identify some streets that have more traffic than they should in a residential community. And that was 14 years ago. But nothing was done as a result of that study. So this village has a history of doing things half-assed at best sometimes. And I don't want to sit on a commission that does things half-assed. All I'm asking this commission to do tonight is agree that it's a serious topic. And if any one of us don't agree it's a serious topic, then you're not out walking around this village enough, or you would experience it yourself. And I'm seeing people nodding their heads. Those are the people who walk our streets. I am not asking for solutions. I'm not looking for excuses. I'm not looking for the why nots. Right now, I just want to hear it's serious, and let's have staff come back to us and tell us what would we need to do to have this conversation, regardless of what those solutions might be.
Okay, let's hear from the other commissioners. Commissioner Samara, do you have anything to say on this?
I don't have a problem with discussing the issue. I do believe I agree with Vice Mayor Kennedy. This is a very important subject matter to have. Questions I have is we have had 2 traffic studies already done, one by the county and one by our chief. We also, where's the money going to come from to do this study? And where's the traffic that you want to block? Because you are going to have to block some traffic.
Again,
It says it in your thing.
it says these are things that could be considered. It was kind of like, and it could include all kinds of things. And it says, It may or may not include these things. It could be an all of the above strategy. It very clearly says, I'm not suggesting a solution because the problem hasn't yet been defined.
No, I don't.
Find the
you-
problem.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not.
I didn't know the police chief, I didn't know the police chief did a study. When was that done? I'm asking you because you just said, I don't know. It's the first I've ever heard that our police chief did a traffic study. I didn't know police chiefs did traffic studies.
Ask our chief, he'll tell you the answer.
I'm sorry?
He said it at a commission meeting.
I didn't know that the chiefs of police departments did traffic studies. The only one I'm aware of is the one in the year 2008 that the village paid an unknown amount of money for. We can't even find a record of how much we paid for it.
Point is,
honestly.
Commissioner Kennedy, Commissioner Kennedy, I'm not arguing, Vice Mayor Kennedy, excuse me. I'm not arguing with you. I agree with you 100%. This is a discussion we need to have. That's all I'm saying. And I just
Okay,
had
let's-
3
let's-
questions that I
Let's
wanted to ask.
continue on.
So,
Commissioner Salas, do you have anything to say on that?
yeah, I'm trying.
Give it a shot.
So yeah, can I have the gavel? No, so on a serious note, so obviously there's a problem. Okay, we all know that. I think it's self-evident that we have a serious traffic issue here. We're surrounded by a lot of, Biscayne Boulevard, we have North Miami, we have Miami Shores. We're kind of the heart of all of that stuff, right? So, but the only question that I have is, how do we proceed from here? What do we need to do we already know what the problem is. Okay, it's traffic and there's a lot of it, and we don't have sidewalks, so people walk on the streets in our communities, right? So we already know what the problem is. The question is, how do we move forward? What do we need in order to move the needle to try to see what we can potentially do to try to alleviate what we currently are experiencing and what we're going to experience in the future, because obviously it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. So that's the question, and I'm happy to explore that question. I just don't. No one has asked. No one has given me the answer to that question. So if somebody can provide me the answer to that question, I'll be happy to consider.
Well,
We have to make it less appealing for cars to come through here, and maybe we have to
scarecrows
revisit the speed bumps.
Well, again, I don't think we should be talking about solutions because we're not traffic experts here. Art, you said it very well. I just think all I'm asking is that we instruct staff to go find out what information we would need to be able to start that process. I'm going to guess it's a traffic study, because that's what we're going to have to point to and say, it's bad on these streets, it's bad at these times, whatever. I think we need to define it. That's all I'm asking us to do. I don't want to hear about another speed hump or stop sign. We're not in the position to make those choices right now. It's easy for me to say, put speed humps all over the
Yeah.
place. But I think we just need to know what kind of for starters, I'd be very happy if Mario reported back to us what kind of study or studies would be required and an estimate of what they would cost. Because if we decide it's important enough, and he says, there are these 3 studies that you have to have, then I want to know what those 3 studies are. I want an estimate of how much they're going to cost. And if we're going to do it, then we need to budget for it. We're entering a budget season. And if we have
Okay,
any
we
intent to
have
actually
a
do
half
anything.
hour left, and we have, let's move on to the next
Oh,
item.
well, No, absolutely not. I want a decision made here. I am going to make a motion that we ask Mario to come back to us at the July meeting, give him ample time to find out what studies and other information would be required by whomever governs these things, county, state, whoever it is, for us to ask for changes to be made, and estimates of what that would cost and how long those studies would take. If we just had that in front of us, I'd be really happy to know this is what you need and this is what it will cost.
Mario, are you familiar with any companies out there that could potentially give you some direction as to where you need to go and what it exactly that you would need in order to move this?
Absolutely. Knowing what the county requires just on the road closure standpoint, and reading the memo from the vice mayor prior to, I reached out to several colleagues who are presidents of engineering firms, vice presidents of engineering firms, people that I worked with that either were, when I was at the Expressway Authority, either with that organization or DOT, who are now in the private firms. So yes, a traffic engineering study will definitely have to occur. They will have to take a look at every option, where the traffic is coming and going to, an origination and destination type study. They would have to do traffic counts to see what the actual number of cars on the streets is, not, it seems like it's more.
Did they give you an approximation of a cost, just out of curiosity?
Without a very specific scope, you're talking in their estimation anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000.
The what?
$200,000 to $300,000.
Okay, that's a very casual presentation of what's needed and what it will cost. I would prefer something a little more tightened up than that. So I'm glad that you went and talked to someone, Mario, and you can come in and throw a number out. That sounds scary as hell, and we don't have that kind of money. But I would prefer, guys, this is a serious topic. It needs to be addressed seriously. And if we have any intent in making this place better in regards to road safety, this village deserves for us to simply get the information in front of us so we can have an informed conversation. I don't think it's asking a lot.
I'm good with getting the information. I have,
There you go.
I have no problem.
Oh,
with-
there's my motion. Will you second it, Art?
I second that.
Okay.
Wait, you want to read your motion again?
My motion is to have Mario go gather the information about what kinds of studies would be required and some estimates of how much they would cost without proposing any kind of solution to anything. Just get us information about what we need to provide, to whom, in what form, and some estimates of how much that would cost. So we can have an informed conversation without talking about any solutions.
Okay, Shante, that was seconded by Art Gonzalez. Is there any more discussion or can we vote? All in favor of Mac's motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Yes.
I didn't hear anything other than me and Art. Judy. Judy said yes? Did you say yes, Jenny?
Yes, 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 yes. 13C, unsafe structure.
Okay, this is me as well. Give me 1 second. I can make a note here. We'll get this done, Jenny. Don't you worry.
I'll read it. He's asking the commission.
No, I'll do it. I'm done. I just had to make a note about something real quickly. Okay, so this is my other piece of new business, and it's regarding an unsafe structure that we have in the village. So the address of the property is 826 Northeast 121st Street. This is an abandoned two-story apartment building that is a real, it's an apartment building. Yeah, it's a 4-unit apartment building. It is a real, it's a real pickle. So this one we're not fixing tonight. There are so many moving parts to this. The building has been abandoned. It's owned by someone who does not live in the village. The owner pays the taxes every year, so they're not in arrears on their taxes. They have been fined out the yin yang to the point that the village has a lien on the property, and the amount of, Mario, was it 36 grand? About $36,000.
It is, give me 1 second.
There's a lien on the property for a chunk of money.
It is currently, I believe, as of today, $34,372.50.
So 34 grand, and the lien was placed how many years ago, Mario? Was that on there? I'm sorry, I should have told you I was going to ask you. Sorry.
No problem. I think it goes back to 2012.
Okay, so it's 10 years ago, more or less, there was a lien put on the property. It was abandoned. It was deemed by the village to not be safe. So the village went in there at its own expense. Public Works boarded it up. After it was boarded up, I pulled police reports on the property. There was one report about someone having gotten into the building even after it was boarded up, and who knows what they're doing, kids partying, who knows. But people were in there. I have walked past there and seen windows open that were closed days prior. So I'm telling you, there's still activity time and again, but that's not official information. I'm sorry? Could be haunted. It looks it. Now, in regards to someone having died, no one died on the property. Someone who was working on landscaping at the adjoining property was attacked by bees that came from that property, and that person ended up dying of related causes. And this carbon monoxide poisoning, trapped in the car to get away from the bees, died in the hospital. So there are other circumstances, regardless of that person dying. It's a blight on the village. It is just a horrific blight on this village. They're not paying their fines. They haven't settled the liens. And I would like us to figure out what we're going to do about this. Municipalities do have muscle in regards to things like this. And it's time for us to figure out exactly what can be done, what it will cost us. And again, without this information, we can't decide what we're going to do. There are other strange circumstances. The fact that it is a non-conforming lot. So it's a non-conforming lot in the village. One of the structures is visibly from the street caving in on itself. The back structure, you can see clearly from the street, has collapsed in on itself. We have no idea the condition of the main structure from the inside. It's my understanding, I'm not an expert, maybe Valerie can jump in here, that the building official does have some authority to enter a property that is deemed to be that there's safety issues. No, that I thought there were Florida statutes about building officials have authority to go in and if a building, abandoned buildings, that they can go in and see what's going on inside them.
We boarded it up. It's private property.
Well, we went down there and boarded it up. That's a good point. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Speak with the building official, but generally absent a warrant, you can't go into private property.
Okay.
And from my
We had
understanding,
property years ago on the corner of 7th Avenue and 113th, and I believe we called and had it deemed by the county to be an unsafe structure. And the family who owned it after the parents had died did pay for the demolition, I believe, to the tune of $50,000. But I don't remember the details of that. Maybe Bob Anderson can give more details. But I know this is not the first time we've had this issue, and we've had this issue with this one for a while. It's just deteriorating more and more.
So we also are not, I mean, we think we have a lien on the property, but no one's been able, from my understanding, until you do a title search, you don't know that that lien's even filed properly. So Valerie brought that to my attention. I said, if we did a title search, would we see if what other encumbrances were on the property, other liens, mortgages, whatever? She said, yeah, and you would verify if your lien was even filed properly and is on there. So yeah, we might find out, who knows? So here's,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Village's lien would be recorded. We would have the recording
Mhm.
in the official records of Miami-Dade County. I just don't know what other liens are.
Right, and mortgages and whatever else, and lawsuits or whatever. I don't know what all shows up. So look, here's the bottom line. It's a blight on this property. People have to live around that. It's embarrassing to have something like that in our community. Rocky Cohen's here. He lives a couple houses down from that. He has a lovely home. He and his wife and kids should not have to live on a street with a building that looks like that. No one should have to go by that and say that exists in Biscayne Park, while the owner just simply ignores the building and continues to let it rot in the ground, accumulate fines that she does not pay, and a lien that she simply ignores. So what I'm asking here for, you guys can have a conversation about this. I know it's been discussed before. And again, it's one of these things, it's like, it's been discussed, we can't afford it. Show me. Put it in front of me and show me. I want to see I want to see a title search done. I want to see exactly what's going on with that property financially. We're absolutely allowed to do that, correct, Valerie? That's within our authority to do that?
Yes.
Yep. I want to see, I want someone to lay out the fines and what's going on with it and tell us exactly what the steps are to have the county declare that an unsafe structure, what that process entails, how much it would cost. If they gave us authority to knock it down, how much that would cost. And all of these things are kind of, based on the fact we need to know what liens are on it and what position we're in. At that point, Valerie could explain to us the process of where we stand in line of what else is owed on the property. We don't have all the information for us to make a determination about what we can do. I know what I'd like to do. I'd like to go hire a wrecking ball myself and sit on the damn thing while it knocks it down. But we need to find out exactly what's going on with that property and decide if we can take action, what action that should be. And if we decide we can do it, then we can make that determination at that time.
Okay, we're gonna ask our attorneys to find.
Right. And what I discussed with Valerie earlier today is we need to have a price tag on what each of those steps are going to cost us
Right,
for
with
the
our
county
attorneys.
and for the cost of our attorneys, because that's above and beyond what the attorneys
That's
usually.
exactly what I'm asking
But
for,
we
Judy,
need
is
to find out regardless of what it's gonna cost us for attorneys to find out. We need to find out,
Hasn't the property,
because we all agree that it's a horror.
hasn't the property already been deemed an unsafe structure?
I believe so, yes, by the previous two building officials.
but not by the county.
Right. It's,
It has not been taken to the county.
Yeah.
So we have to go to the county. Okay.
we got.
So that's what I'm asking for, is that someone just lay it all out for us, and like a title search should be done. Like that can be done. Rocky, how long does it take to do a title search? 36 hours, we could have a title search done on that property. And it would cost us about how much, Rocky? Couple $100.
And I'm assuming that we've reached out to the owners, and I know we've talked to a lawyer at some point, but there was nothing that came out of that, right?
I think Valerie had discussions.
Did not speak with her about the potential of going to the Unsafe Structures Board. She had reached out to the village inquiring about what was the process for mitigating the lien that exists on the property, because she explained that the owner's spouse,
Mhm.
owner has since passed away. The owner has cancer, the surviving spouse has cancer, and she would like to do the necessary repairs. She alleged that they had plans or permits at some point to do the repairs. But in order to do so, they would need to refinance, and they can't refinance with the existence of liens on the property. So I directed her to the village, as to what the application process would be, to get the liens mitigated. And she indicated that she was not representing them in that capacity. She just was assisting them, just kind of getting general information.
So but so no one has actually spoken to the owners, just this particular, do we have an owner's contact information?
I could probably obtain it through the attorney that contacted.
Maybe we talk to the owners and say, hi, what's up?
I think the situation is going to be financial. There's
Okay,
she
so
advised to me that she does not have the money to do the necessary repairs.
I understood. So here's the dilemma that we find ourselves in, because I've been asking about this house since I moved here 6 years ago, and I don't even live near it, and it bothers me. So like Vice Mayor Kennedy said, it's a non-conforming lot, right? So they would have to, if an investor came in and wanted to demolish that house and build a new house, they would have to
Apartments.
get a variance from us, right? There's no guarantee that we would give them a variance to build that house, right? So no investor is going to invest in that property to tear that structure down if there is no guarantee that they can build something on it, right? So that's the number one problem. The other problem is that in my opinion, and I'm certainly no structural engineer, that property is beyond repair. I mean, that property needs, it seems to me, and
Structure is,
from what I've heard, the roof in that property, that property itself is collapsed, the floors are collapsing. So I don't think that property is savable. The owners that own that property, had they owned it prior to what year is it that you're allowed to redo?
91.
Yeah. If redo that they can actually knock it down and build something.
Development code. I think it might have been 95, but it's.
So whatever years, 91, 95, if they owned it prior to the zoning change, they themselves could knock it down and build a new structure. But they owned it after 91 or 95 when we did the zoning change. So they don't even have the power to knock it down and build something new. So there's a lot of different things here at work and at play. And obviously, I feel like Vice Mayor Kennedy, I would love to see that thing knocked down and just eliminated. But I don't know. It's.
That's why we're asking
that's
the
the point.
attorneys to find out.
So
we
let
can
me,
do.
let me wrap this up with, I'm sorry, Dan, did you want to say anything about this? Because I'm going to make a motion.
I'm open for discussion and have the manager and attorney come back with solution. I think
Okay.
the previous attorney do the same thing.
We can't make that decision. I think we have to find out more.
We need
From
information.
the
Yeah.
attorney.
So let me make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we ask, and we instruct Mario and staff attorneys to come back to us at a future meeting. I'd love to have it for the June meeting if we could, if not July. Let's give them a little time here. They have lots on their plate right now. And put in front of us a complete report about this property that will provide us the information we need to decide what we can do, so then we can decide if we have the appetite to do it. And that would include a title search for starters. We need to know the financial situation of this property, lien history, the process with the county to have it deemed an unsafe structure, the costs associated with that, including all the attorneys and related costs, the estimated demo costs for a building of that size. Have someone explain to us what the tax implications are, because it's being taxed as a residence right now, and that would change it to an empty lot. We need to know all of these things. The issues with the lot being non-conforming, and even contacting having someone, I don't know if that would be, if it's appropriate for Mario to do that or the attorneys, to contact the owner and have a conversation and say, the commission is gathering all this information and they intend to do something. So do you want to be involved in this or not?
There's also something that I heard, that the city owns an easement on that property.
There is one of our walking paths, I think it's 12 feet wide, that runs between it and the property adjacent to it on the west side, yes.
So that might.
Also the alleyway behind the property.
The alleyway behind the
So
property.
that may also come into play, because if that adds if that adds to the property size, making it conforming, now it becomes attractive to an investor.
That's one of the things.
So that's something else that we need to
All the
look at.
issues with the lot. And I talked to Valerie about that.
Yeah.
And it's a little more complicated than, like, we'll sell it to them for $1. And then, she's laughing. It's a little more complicated than that. But I would like all of that to be included. Absolutely.
Who uses that easement right now?
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Did you make the motion?
so that's my motion.
Okay.
Is there a
Did you-
second
did
on
you
it?
Repeat it to, did you get it, Shante? Okay.
Is that the longest motion in the history
I'll
of your
second that
career,
motion.
Shante?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Look, these two items that I brought are important, and you don't get somewhere if you don't get the train out of the station. We did that tonight. Thank you.
Okay, is there, we've already put in a few items for the next month's meeting. Is there anything else or any announcements?
No. May I make a motion to adjourn, Jenny?
You may. I'll second it. Have a very pleasant evening,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Chief.